Welcome everyone to the broadcast. This is the Risen Esports Dominate Open League Week 7, and here we are facing off Moe's Tavern versus Crab Rave. I'm Genre, and casting with me is Switch, and on the stream handling the broadcast is Rando Joe. Switch, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yep, got Joe behind us in the trenches doing all the hard work while we just sit here and talk. I'm very happy to see Crab Rave. I'm like a soft Crab Rave fan because the one time I casted them, I had a lot of fun. So yeah, another one coming up.
Is that caster bias?
Yeah, they're gonna win 100%. I don't even remember if they won the last time.
Well, decent chance that they probably did. Their record's 4-2. So they've won more games than they've lost, but they are facing off against another team that's doing quite well for themselves, got a 5-1 record, and looks like last time these two teams faced off, Moe's Tavern did get the better of Crab Rave and actually 2-0'd them in that series.
Right, yeah, definitely. And I mean, more or less though, they are relatively close in scores rather, and it is a new look for Moe's Tavern, that is, and because they do have a totally new bot lane as compared to the last bot lane that was ranked out of the league.
You're absolutely right about that. So we'll have to see how that shakes up their team compositions and team playstyle. Right now we are into the pick and ban with the first round of bans almost completed here, and no surprise, the Riven being taken off the table by Crab Rave so that washed up Riven cannot get his hands on that champion.
Well, that's all right. He's washed up anyway. But some very familiar bans that we're seeing. Jarvan, who has been taken down a peg in 9.9, is still seeing a good amount of play. So getting a ban out there. We do see Zoe, who has a very troublesome mid game to deal with, also taken out as well. The new Rakan, I'm surprised to see taken out because I don't think it's quite as powerful as the old Rakan that gave you more or less guaranteed engage.
Yeah, those nerfs certainly hitting him quite hard, but nonetheless going to be taken off the board, and the Morgana picked up there for Moe's Tavern as that first pick. Could be a bit of a flex pick. We have seen a lot of Morgana mid lately, so would not surprise me to see that go in the mid lane as opposed to where we've traditionally seen it over the past, couple years or so in the support roles. But nonetheless, looks like Crab Rave, their first pick on the board, is going to be Sejuani in the jungle.
It is a Sejuani, yes, and we'll have to see what the next pick coming out is. Though I do like early picking Morganas, though. A lot of her matchups are very popular, or a lot of her good matchups, rather, are very popular at the moment. You think about Thresh, you think about Nautilus, and the Black Shield works great against those. Braum as well, actually. She can work wonders, keeping whatever backline carry she has safe and not CC'd and not knocked up.
Yeah, and just to touch on that as well, not only is she so great in a lot of those matchups in the bottom lane, but in the mid lane, the reason I think we saw her rise to prominence really is because a lot of her matchups are favorable as well due to the fact that a lot of these strong mid laners got nerfed out, things like Lissandra, etc. And now the mid lane pool is just not quite as strong as it used to be, and so Morgana now has an opportunity really to kind of rise up in her power level as a result of all these other champions being nerfed.
So Nami going to be that last pick at the moment for the side of Crab Rave, and now a response Karma. It's still ambiguous whether the Morgana and the Karma are going either mid or support. I have seen them flexed to either of the roles, so we'll have to see. But in my personal opinion, I still love to see Karma in the support position. I think she brings a lot of front load damage, a lot of lane priority, and especially combined with the Sivir, I think that's exactly what you want. You can shove out those waves, rotate to early objectives, and have a big impact on the game.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. And I am expecting it to be Morgana mid at this point, but you're absolutely right that it could still be flexed either way, just depending on how the draft goes. Something spicy I'd kind of like to see from Crab Rave here, if they could play it, is maybe like a Zed mid. If you're expecting it to be that Morgana mid, just something that really can just shut her down, just win lane, win game, and really stomp that matchup. Instead of picking more of like a mage that Morgana's just going to have no trouble dealing with and is just going to max her pool and shove you in and really just be non-interactive.
It's frustrating to deal with her sometimes if you do get counterpicked. But yeah, I agree. 80 assassins on the table. So we'll have to see what the next bans are. I mean, you could possibly see Moe's Tavern banning out those 80 assassins. Talon, also relatively popular, but more so in solo queue. Either way, that was the last pick in the first pick phase. Varus for the side of Crab Rave. And Varus has been seeing a lot of good success lately. I mean, he brings a good mix of mid-game power spike and utility, right? He's got the corrupting arrow to start and engage on a team fight, and it's a very easy skill shot to land. You think about their laning phase as well. Nami Varus, also very, very strong.
Yeah, they have certainly drafted an extremely strong bottom lane that wants to 2v2. Like you mentioned, with that Chain of Corruption, with the Tidal Wave, the bubble, they've got tons and tons of CC. And if Sejuani ever does make it down there to the bottom lane to support them, that's even more CC added into the bucket. So I am expecting them to play a pretty aggressive early on with this lane on the side of Crab Rave, especially with the fact that your opponent is Sivir, who's really not thought of as an aggressive AD carry, certainly is strong in later stages of the game, but largely just going to be looking to farm and wave clear early on.
Right. She does want to hit her relatively good power spike of 2 to 3 items, get that crit rolling. And especially now we've seen enchanters come up more and more now that, tank supports have been getting nerfed a bit more. We're really starting to see a huge flaw in the side of enchanters, which is they usually don't have hard escapes. I could definitely see a Varus Nami taking advantage of the lack of escapes. So just to recap on the last bans that came out, it was Victor Silas and Fiora Rek'Sai. So still okay. Actually, these picks are rolling. Ari Kane and Aatrox. That is the new Aatrox, by the way. With the new ultimate, you're not guaranteed a revive. You do have to get a takedown to get the new revive.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, you also no longer get the benefit of that healing debuff when he's hitting you. So that is certainly another change. But he was granted, because of those changes, in order to give his power back, some increased healing. So you might have seen some clips of him, just kind of popping off in some Fed games. The healing is actually pretty insane if he's able to land his abilities. So it looks like it will be an Aatrox top. And to answer that on the top side for Crab Rave is Maokai, which, frankly, for Crab Rave, I'd be a little bit concerned about that matchup if I were them right about now. He's going to be rough early. We can certainly see Aatrox take over games in the early game if he goes unchecked. So I'm expecting to see a lot of jungle pressure paid up there in the top side. Otherwise, I fear that this Aatrox might just run over the Maokai early.
I definitely would have to say so. I mean, Aatrox, it feels like his new rework has given him a larger amount of skill expression than the old one, in my opinion, but we'll have to see if it comes to fruition, right? He did receive a hotfix mid 9.9 because he just was not quite hitting that mark. Now, though, I think Riot is more or less okay with the current state. Maokai has been seeing a lot more of a resurgence lately. I think he is one of those premier tanks in the top lane that you can run. Tanks aren't really as popular as a lot of people thought they would. I thought after some of the runes got buffed that do improve tanks play, everyone had that group mind thought of like, oh, the age of tanks is coming back. But no, not at all. If you look at MSI especially, there's still fighters, mages, and hard carries in that top lane still being preferred over tanks. But Maokai is in a relatively good state at the moment.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, like you said, we do tend to see more of like the Jace, the Akali, more of these skirmishing type of top laners, Vladimir even. So not, like you said, not so much the tanks, but it can work, with the composition. I think with Crab Rave's composition, it's a good pick. I think it fits overall well within, what their team is trying to do. They're looking to 5v5 and team fight and use all this CC that they have. It's just an additional front line for them. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say, I actually really loved the Kane pick because you saw three very popular junglers taken off the table: the Hecarim, the Rek'Sai, the Jarvan, right? And Kane just is starting to really become popular again, and people have been like having mixed feelings on them. Well, Kane doesn't really bring you early pressure, but if you look at the composition as a whole coming out for Mo's Tavern, it works quite nicely, right? You have Sivir, Morgana, and Karma. They bring that baseline and allow you to really get into the mid game, no worse for wear. And once you finally reach there, you have a great spike. Like just looking across the table, it looks like a really strong spike coming out for the side of Mo's Tavern, and I like it. You don't have to worry about losing the early game too much because you have these auto pushing lanes in the bot and the mid.
Absolutely, and the one thing that I do like about Mo's Tavern, although they don't have that traditional type of team fight composition that Crab Rave does, and they don't have as strong of a front line per se, they do have very, very slippery champions. And so,
That's
the
true.
Aatrox, like you said, it was changed, so he doesn't automatically get the revive anymore. But if he does get a takedown, so if he gets an assist or a kill in a fight, he is going to get that revive. You've got Kane as well with his ultimate to keep him alive and get some healing if he's Red Kane in particular. So just very, very slippery champions. And you throw in, obviously, the Karma, you throw in the Morgana and the Sivir, all these champions that can provide utility and movement speed and all these types of things, the Black Shield. There are a lot of tools that most Tavern has to really help them skirmish and fight very well, even though they don't have that traditional front line.
Yeah, definitely. There's no guaranteed engage for the side of Mo's Tavern, but you look at the composition, I don't really see them having a problem engaging or getting on top of the side of Crab's Rave. I mean, you got extra speed from the Karma, from the Sivir, the new Aatrox rework. It has more speed given on the ultimate, and Kane, I mean, depending on which Kane he goes, either way, he's going to be able to walk through walls. And I would hope to see, actually, in my opinion, Rost come out in terms of which Kane to go towards, because I just think that there's a lot of abusable backline picks for the side Crab Rave that you can absolutely decimate. You think about the Nami, the Varus, the Ari. I think if you get some crucial knockups, that could really mean a lot for your team.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think Red Kane is the right choice here, but of course, you don't always necessarily get to choose what form you're going to get first. Anyway, you can always, even after you achieve your form, you can wait and then get the other form a few minutes later. But you may not have necessarily the time or the luxury to be able to wait for that form. So, I think if he wants to get that Red Kane, then he's going to want to go ahead and prioritize those melee champions. So maybe going up towards that top side and skirmishing with the jungle a lot more, so that way he's getting those souls for Red Kane, as opposed to the bottom side. It's all ranged damage dealers. Same with the mid lane; it's a ranged damage dealer. So you're going to be more harvesting towards that blue Kane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, it feels like a sort of catch-22. Kane doesn't have the greatest early game, so when he's against high priority early junglers, it sort of feels like you're caught between a rock and a hard place, because you want to be active, you want to start getting those stacks toward your passive, but also you're just not the best early game. So it's definitely a balancing act, trying to get towards those stacks without, I don't know, feeding.
You're absolutely right about that. Well, now both teams have their compositions locked in, and it looks like it is going to be the Morgana mid as we had thought. So Sivir and Karma in the bottom lane. Teams are just now waiting to load onto the Rift, and we are waiting for the Spectre delay to tick down. So just stick with us. We'll be right back in just a few minutes for Game 1 of this best of 3 series between Mo's Tavern and Crab Rave. All right, we are on to the Rift here for game 1 of this series between Mo's Tavern and Crab Rave. And looks like might have a little bit of a sneaky invade here for that blue team. So they make their way into the bottom rush. They do have the Dark Binding, so if that's able to land, they might have spotted out Cage here. The question is, will they commit any resources for it? They probably would have to burn Summoner Flash if they did want to catch him, but not going to go ahead and pull the trigger.
Yeah, smart pathing. He actually didn't wrap back around to his blue buff. He just went straight forward and kept as much distance as possible. And very smart. He does not have to blow any summoners for it, so that's what we like to see around here.
Yep, and just a ward deposited there, Foremost Tavern, onto the enemy blue buff. So they're trying to scout out where Backpack on this Sejuani is going to be starting off. And with no one having appeared yet, they are certainly going to have that knowledge that he is starting top side, getting the leash from his top laner there.
Looks like everything more or less standard. So there still is the potential vertical jungling, but this is the new patch. And we still have to talk about this Scuttle Crab change, right? So the whole meta shift that people have been talking about is, okay, Scuttle Crab used to spawn at around a minute or 2 minutes. And it used to mean that if you had a good level 2 as a jungler, you got the Scuttle Crab. And if you had a subpar level 2, you just wouldn't get the Scuttle Crab. Or maybe if your lanes, like your mid or your top, had good level 2s, it would depend based off of that. But now that Scuttle Crab spawns later, you can get up to level 3, possibly even level 4, and you'll have all of your abilities available to you, and that just allows a lot more champions to be able to contest these Scuttle Crabs. So overall, I personally really like the change.
Yeah, and one of the, I think, great parts about the change as well that I think a lot of people are really in favor of is what it did to the mid lane meta, because in mid, you were kind of forced to pick these champions that could shove early and get priority in the lane so that you could go help your jungler out when it was that level 2 scuttle fight. But now with the change, as you mentioned, it spawns much later, so you don't necessarily have to worry about getting that super early shove, and I think it opens up the mid lane pool to a lot more different champions. But in bottom lane, looks like a skirmish going down. Montusker flashes out, but the first blood goes over to Tsukumiho, and looking for a double gear here. Cade getting incredibly low, flashing out, so gonna get away with his life on that one, but both summoners are down, and first blood is drawn by Mo's Tavern.
Yeah, and just like that, already in 3 minutes into the game, the first blood from the bot lane. And we actually talked about the Varus Nami strength in the bot lane, but a lot of that comes from the Nami healing, right? Over time, you out-sustain your opponents. No, it's just Sivir and Karma putting down the huge base damages. And we mentioned that front-loaded damage coming out of Karma's Mantra Q, and there you have it already, getting Sivir to a good start. Kumiho up already, 1 kill and 6 CS up.
Yeah, and it looks like Montusker really was not expecting that damage to come out, because still sitting on that exhaust summoner spell, did not use it before dying there. So, I mean, that tells me probably just wasn't expecting the damage to come out, this early on from that lane. Probably thought that, because they drafted that stronger lane, they probably were in a safe spot. But like you said, not respecting the damage of that Mantra Q.
Definitely, and I think one of the best things about the situation now for the side of Mo's Tavern, for the side of Mo's Tavern, is the fact that you have complete control of the lane if you are Sivir. You can choose to shove it out, reset it, or you can choose to slow freeze it around your tower. And the fact that there are no flashes available already for the Varus and the Nami spells a very tough situation for them.
Well, as the lanes kind of just reset here, let's take a minute to check in on the junglers. More or less even. Looks like Backpack is about 1 camp ahead. But of course, the Krugs there on the bottom side are up for Zohair and available to take, so he'll even that out real quick here. But so far, really just pretty much even jungling across the board, I'd say.
More or less, everything staying on par, aside from that bot lane, of course. Still would love to see a little bit of abuse on that wave. Oh
wow, the Twisted Advantage follows him on the flash, and they're looking to find this kill, but not Boston has anything to say about it. He's trying to find the kill of a 1v2, but cannot quite find it. But he's getting that healing there from those Aatrox Qs, but he is getting creep locked by his own creeps.
Wow.
Backpack trying to find that one, but is going to walk away.
That auto attack now, yes, it does give yourself a better heal and allows him to stay healthy for that. Now, Summoners blown for the side of Kumiho and Kingsland. He's going to just about even up the summoners as a whole, I think. Well, Ignite coming back soon. And actually, that's a super early Inferno. I didn't even notice that, but what a great pickup for the side of Mo's Tavern.
Yeah, Zohair quietly making his work on that Infernal Drake as his team was applying pressure in the bottom lane, making sure that they couldn't roam over to spot him out and contest it, and they're going to claim that one to their name. So,
and you've got to attribute that a lot to the pressure that the bot lane is exerting, right? Kumiho and Kingsland. Oh, another gank.
Oh, another repeat gank. The Twisted Advance comes out, but the World Ender is used. But he's not going to get that revive if he doesn't get a takedown. He's trying to find it on the backpack. But the flash it comes out. The third Q right there wants to win and getting that healing, but it is not enough, and he is going to go down finally on the top side.
Unfortunate too. I thought he played relatively well, but it was a very smart flash out from backpack, not allowing the Aatrox to land the third Q. And I'm telling you, dude, I like this new Aatrox rework. I think it just allows a lot more skill expression, and you can see it right there. But unfortunate, giving the kill over to backpack. So solid gank from him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pressure applied so far on this top side by backpack to make sure this Aatrox doesn't shut down best James Bond on the Maokai, and that's something we talked about in this draft that was going to be very important to make sure this Maokai wasn't just getting absolutely dumpstered, and he's doing a good job of it. You know, there's a couple dicey situations there where almost died, but they hang on. They did force themselves to use their summoner spells to get out, but in the end, they do make sure that best James Bond isn't getting bullied up there.
Yeah, and you can see a distinct difference in the style of play at the moment. You're seeing Crab Rave prefer to gank that top side and get their Maokai into a comfortable position. And on the other side, still a lot of abuse coming out for the side.
Ooh. The Mantra Q landing on a Montesker again. That is a squishy fish if Nami ever gets caught by one of those Karma Qs. So gonna have to watch the positioning on that one.
Yeah, and still Kumiho and Kingsland having a very dominant performance in this lane. Now it looks like both junglers starting to head towards that side, but priority for Earl King on the Ahri in the mid lane, already starting to head in that direction. We'll have to see if the skirmish breaks out soon.
Yeah, they're setting up the vision. They put a control ward down there in that brush just up on top of red.
Deep invade. Wow.
Yep. He's looking for something, trying to find a pick, but not able to spot anything out quite yet. And there's also a control ward there in the river being taken out by Montesker, taking out the regular ward. And so they're trying to just establish vision there on that bottom side, but really looks like nothing's going to happen because most Tavern bottom lane recalled.
Yeah, still nice awareness overall for the side. Hang on,
gets dropped back by that infernal chains, getting super low. Washed up. Oh, dashes and gets the Q right there. Kills him with the solo kill in the top lane.
Oh man, and washed up Brennett, even though he's been being put down through these ganks, still having a dominant performance in lane. And you mentioned it before, the Maokai in lane is not the most spectacular. Backpack tried to relieve some pressure in that top lane, get the Maokai ahead, but unfortunately, it's still washed up Riven having some solid Aatrox play.
Yeah, very much so, and going to be rewarded for that solo kill with not only the kill gold, of course, but the plates as well. You saw him get a couple plates there, and so that's going to put him even further and further ahead. Also has a 20 CS lead, so washed up Ribbon really making a name for himself here in the top lane.
Uh-oh.
Meanwhile, skirmishing here in jungle, Zohair not getting the better end of that trade. Does have the healing there from his E through the wall, but the grasping roots are coming out. It roots them both in place. World Ender is used. The Kane ultimate, can it keep him alive for now? He flashes out to safety, but will that be it? Oh. Yes, it will. Best James Bond gets the kill there, and it looks like Washed Up Ribbon going to be forced to retreat over the wall.
Nice charm.
Nice charm there, though. Early King trying to find something on the back end of this play for his team. Goes in with the Spirit Rush, but is getting super low from the Aatrox Qs. And there it is. The flash comes out, picks up that kill. Best James Bond yet again grabbing that one. And now Backpack has shown up, and Mowgli the Cat does kill Early King. But there's a double kill going over the Maokai. Oh my word! The Boomerang Blade says goodbye, Cage, in the bottom lane.
And all across the map, just skirmishing. And it all started off of the back of Zohair going for a bit of an invade, getting caught out for it. And unfortunately, 3 members of his team dying. The Kayn, the Morgana, and the Aatrox, unfortunately, falling for that. But overall, it's still a slight lead for the side of Mo's Tavern, and they've been getting turret plays on the top and the bot. I would still say overall, their top and the bot are winning, and you could see it from that 2v2 kill in the bot lane. That was another kill picked up for Kumiho.
Yeah, and I will say that although that was advantageous for Crab Rave in the end, I think, just because of all the kills they picked up, it's a little bit unfortunate that those all went onto their tank, Maokai. He's now sitting at 3-1, but I guess the benefit of that is at least he's not so far behind anymore, at least with that kill goal now. He's able to equalize some of that deficit that's been accruing in the top side.
Yeah, I guess all that work that Backpack has been going towards, you finally got his Maokai ahead. Just don't know if that's the most optimal thing for you coming into this late early game here, but a lot of attention put towards this dragon. Now it is Infernal, and one Infernal was already given over to Mo's Tavern, but here it is, started by Crab Rave.
Yeah, and they want it so bad they put down 2 control wards, which so
like
they're starting it off, but
contested.
Zohair is on the other side of the Dragon Pit. He could try to go for a steal here, and noticing, but does not get it. That is going to be secured by Backpack. The Glacial Prison goes wide. Zohair now tries to get out, but Twisted Advance will follow him. Best James Bond on a rampage. The Maokai has arrived for the team fight, and this is exactly what Crab Rave wants. The Charm goes wide. Does not quite connect. The Dark Binding it does, however, but that is going to mean the end to the team fight.
And it's unfortunate. It was just a bad situation to be in if you are on the side of Mo's Tavern. I mean, first of all, great early grouping and shot calling coming out for the side of Crab Raven. They get there early, but also you didn't have teleport on the Aatrox, but maybe he could pick up a solo kill.
Maybe he can, but looks like Backpack is roaming yet again up there, pitching his tent in the top side. Oh, in the bottom side, the kill going down. Now washed up Ribbon with the World Ender, trying to 1v2 on this Aatrox, but in the bottom lane, they're not done with this fight yet. They want to keep skirmishing. Kingsland running for his life. Can Montusker land the slow? There it is, one slow landed. The barely in the edge of the bubble is there, and there's the heal. But now the TP is coming through. Zohair has arrived in the bottom lane. He picks up 1 kill. Can he grab a second when he's landed the slow? Montusker running for his life. The bubble lands, but it's not in time. Double kill going over to Zohair.
And just like that, we're just about in even ground for the most part, and all off of a very strange death coming out from Kumiho. Kind of outplayed himself there and allowing the tower to give the kill over to Cage, and that started the winning 2v2 for the side of Cage and Montusker. Unfortunately, they did get punished for it, but in the end, it's not what you want to see if you were Mo's Tavern.
Yeah, and a lot of fighting has been happening so far this game. 7 kills apiece. These teams just take back and kind of take stock of where the game is. You know, they're sitting at equal kills, equal Drakes. They both have an Infernal to their names. But the gold difference is about 2,000, a little over that, actually. And that's largely due to this top side advantage that Wash Up Ribbon has been able to get for himself, not only from the CS and the 1 kill that he has, but he got all 5 plates on that turret because when Best James Bond roamed down with that TP for that team fight, although it helped out his team, it means topside was left uncontested.
Yeah, and we can't forget to mention the bot lane as well. It was Kumiho in the Kingsland keeping so much pressure, shoving in the waves, harassing Cage and Montusker under tower. They took the tower as well before the planes came off, and that is what you're seeing with the Goldie at the moment. Montusker getting very aggressive.
Trying to find the pick there. The Infernal Chain's going to stop his progress forward. Washed Up Ribbon, I don't know if he can 1v3. He's almost 1v2'd a couple times, but 3 might be a bit too much for him to take on.
Well, quick decisiveness coming out here for the side of Mo's Tavern. They're going onto this Rift Shield, as well as putting a little damage onto Best James Bond, but I think it's going to be alright for the most part. Yep, nice sidesteps in the...
there it is. Twisted Advance lands before the Black Shield can come out, but now the Dark Binding that is there stuns onto 1. Backpack is now rooted up yet again, and there's the Maokai coming in with those roots, trying to find a kill here, but this team is not quite there yet. There it is. They've arrived. Reinforcements are here. The tidal wave, the Glacial Prison on the hunt is there, and there is a dead Mowgli the cat. He's going to go down 1-0 so far, as it looks like the teams will disengage.
Again, it's Mo's Tavern caught in a bad position. They're caught as a 4-man. Their top lane is splitting with no teleport, and they get punished for it again, and they can't contest the team fight. Are you going to start a 4v5? Probably not, so you lose a member because of that, and that's going to allow a bit of an opening into the mid lane. And I just want to rewind a little bit. That started off from a very strange macro play. You saw 3 men dedicated towards that bot lane, from the side of Crab Rave. They didn't get the tower. I don't even think they touched the tower, to be honest, but they were all there, and that allowed the side of Most Tavern to start the Rift Herald. And in the end, like, they stayed there long enough to get punished by it, so really bizarre play.
Yeah, it looks like Most Tavern's going to have to find out what they want to do with this game. But before they do, it looks like an engage trying to come through here for Crab. They've gone in on that Sejuani, but not going to want it in the end. Trying to disengage now, and they will. The Ignite was dropped there onto Earl King. Spirit Rush as well forced out, so not going to have that at his disposal for any team fight that might come out.
Yeah, it's just a couple cooldowns blown, but everybody no worse for wear, as we do see this final Infernal Drake coming right up. Yeah, it is the last one, so if you take this, you definitely put yourself into a great position when you come into that mid game, right? You're going to scale much better in terms of your AD and AP as you get more items. And so very important dragon to be picked up here. And I think both teams are definitely aware of that fact.
Yeah, but I think Most Tavern really, stands the most to benefit from it just based on the champions they have in their composition.
Yeah.
You know, there are less, I think, Infernal Drake users, I would say, on the side of Crab Rave. So it's really, for Crab Rave, I mean, they'd certainly like it as well, but it's really more so a denial. You do not want Most Tavern with 2 Infernal Drakes on this incredibly strong Aatrox. And, you know, certainly not on a Sivir that gets to be late game, or, you know, a Kayn that starts to get some items either.
Yeah, that would be terrible. So dragon spawned, and it looks like it's going to be the leash coming out for the side of Crab's Rave, but definitely a response coming here from Most Tavern. They're approaching.
Yep, they've got the priority. They've started it up. So here, had to go back to base. Keeps Lane now get caught out. Can dodge the tidal wave. He will. Be nice sticking, but it's not going to be that damage. But the Infernal Drake is going to go over to Crab Wave. The fight is now broken up. Cage has been caught out. He's going to go down. And it looks like Maokai now is on the back line. The tanks are doing tank things. They're trying to find Zohair out. But can they get the kill? No, Zohair going to stay alive. And now they're running for their lives. Crab Wave, the health bars are getting so low. Earl King running for his life. A nice bubble there. Fights Montusco trying to save his teammate. And he will. But now Zohair and Zakumiho trying to kill Maokai. The Maokai is out of mana, but he still is quite healthy, and looks like they will not be able to take him down. So in the end, just going to be, it looks like 2 for 2 or 2 for 3. Not quite sure exactly how that all went down, but it looks like because the Infernal Drake went over to Crab's Rave, they are going to come out ahead overall.
They do definitely get the advantage here, and I mean, it's a very scattered skirmish overall, and it was so bizarre because the dragon spawned, and it just looked like Most Tavern were not prepared. They didn't have Washed Up Ribbon in the right position. Zohair as well was a bit late to the party, ended up getting into the pit, but could not smite secure the dragon. So that is the advantage over to Crab Raven. Even though, like you said, they don't scale the best with the Infernal Drakes, the fact that you're able to deny away and have a bit more scaling into the game is definitely going to help you out.
Yeah, it certainly will. I have to question, you know, Most Tavern a little bit there, looking for that fight when their support, you know, the Karma had just gotten chunked out. They already lost the Drake, so there's really nothing to fight over at that point. The objective is gone. But, you know, that's something I think they're going to have to maybe reevaluate as this game goes forward, you know, kind of when they're picking their fights and choosing the right times.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to really take the magnifying lens. Oh, nice bubble.
Wow. Yeah, that piercing arrow is starting to hurt.
It is, and Zohair's in a very tricky position right now. Looks like they're going to be collapsing onto this top lane as they're trying to take down Washed Up Ribbon.
Yep, Washed Up Ribbon pops the world, and Zohair has arrived to finally support his top laner. They do land the knock up there. It looks like they will grab the kill. Washed Up Ribbon gets that one. Now has got the increased movement speed as well as the extended duration on that revive, but it looks like it will just expire as his team comes to support him on the top side and they walk out of there.
And the narrative of the game right now is Washed Up Ribbon attracting so much attention. He took early ganks, still managed to get a solo kill because of it. And in this mid game now, he's still providing a lot of pressure with holding his own 1v2 for the most part before Zohair came. They managed to punish the collapse, and they still got a good amount of damage onto that top tier 2 tower.
Yeah, and he's still not at his strongest point yet, I think we should point out. He's got the Black Cleaver, and it looks like he's probably working... he's got the Caulfield's Warhammer, so probably working on that Death's Dance. I'm not sure what the extra Kindle Gem is there for, probably for the Spirit Visage. But once he gets, that Death's Dance and then even the Spirit Visage, kind of those 2-3 items that are core for Aatrox, that is when he's at his probably strongest relative to his opponents and the state of the game. So it's still certainly a lot to look forward to for this Aatrox.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we were actually going back and forth about it, me and you, Genre, about what pick should have been taken for Washed Up Riven. We were mentioning, hey, the Vladimir's not too bad at all, but in the end, it was the Aatrox, and now I'm sold on it. Tidal Wave forced out. That's just going to be spell shielded for the side of Kumiho, and nice ultimate taken off the table.
Yep, that will certainly come back up, though, before their next fight. Probably not going to choose to start one off without that. Is it a key ultimate in their toolbox if they want to come out ahead in these team fights?
Yeah, but we're still just about dead even in gold at the moment, but still I would favor it going towards the side of most Tavern at the moment. Washed Up Riven, he's so aggressive in this side lane, but you can see some rotations coming out for the side of Crab Rave, and there's the ultimate taken out.
Yeah, Grasping Roots there used to disengage and get him out of that 1v1 and flash. So you can see this Maokai, even despite getting 5 kills to his name, he's got the Bramble Vest as well to reduce the healing. So even in spite of all this, he still really can't handle the 1v1 against Washed Up Riven. And part of that is, because of the Conqueror, even in spite of the reduced healing, he's still getting healed a lot. And really, this Aatrox is just so strong, he's not going to be able to 1v1 him, at least not until much, much later.
Right, Washed Up Riven, sure, he's getting diminishing returns on his healing, but I mean, the bigger part, I would say, is Best James Bond is not doing damage at the moment, and who's gonna win? Eventually, the Aatrox is, because he actually deals damage and he actually heals a little bit, so something to look forward to in the future if you are most Tavern, that split push, that can be your win condition in this game.
Yeah, it's something that I'd like to see more of from most Tavern to execute that a little bit better by, throwing the Aatrox into the sideline like they've been doing, but also maybe throwing, the Morgana or the Kayn into another side lane, getting that kind of 1-3-1, having the Sivir sit in wave clear mid, because that's what Sivir does, right? She wave clears with her Ricochet and Boomerang Blade, one of the best wave clear marksmen in the game. So that way, if Crab Rave tries to start off a fight, you just have Sivir there, or force something, Sivir's there to wave clear.
Absolutely correct, and I like the idea of Zohair split pushing, and I mean, Sivir, Karma, Morgana, if you have that as your 3-man in the mid lane, there is no problem disengaging with that composition, so completely agree with you there. We'll have to see if it comes to fruition here as,
Earl King gets caught out. Dark Binding does land. Spirit Rush forced out as well. The knockup is there. Earl King flashes out though. Wow, what a great flash with the Spirit Rush. Gonna look like be able to get himself out, but Montusker on the other side of the map has been caught himself. Oh, a flash over the bubble there, but the Grasping Roots is there. Maokai is there to save his teammate, but it looks like Washed Up Riven is just trying to 1v5 here. The World Ender and the healing coming out. He's looking for something, but the World Ender has now expired, and looks like on the hunt there, used by Zakumiho to support his teammates, so he is going to get out. Not able to get anything out of it, though, in the end.
Yeah, in the end, it was Early King. He got caught out, died for it, but Dragon given over to the side of Crab Rave. They had the priority in that position. They dedicated more people over there, and I guess we're just going towards Baron now, huh?
Yeah, this is spicy. They've had the control ward sitting on it for a while, so they're getting pretty low there from taking up the Baron, but they are going to try to steal this one away.
There's no vision.
There's no vision, but it looks like there's a ping going on. So the blue trinket is there. Now they've spotted it out. They know that it's getting down, but it might be too late. Baron already at 2,500 health. Bubble used to try to do something there. The piercing arrow as well, but it's not going to be enough. Zohair secures that one. But will they stick around for the fight? It looks like they are. Now Best James Bond dominating on this front line. Maokai does find 1 kill. It looks like the rest of most Tavern is going to try to disengage here and save that Baron buff.
Yeah, that was flash expended forward. Backpack was feeling and engaged, but then checked his pocket. Wait a second, I don't have an ultimate with me. So quite unfortunate, but I would say definitely the advantage given over to the side of most Tavern. They did take a Baron because of it, and completely uncontested. It wasn't even a 50-50 because they were just quick to the trigger, to pull the trigger, and it looked like the side of Crab Rave had no idea until the last 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much just some smart heads-up gameplay there, to recognize kind of the state of the game and the fact that Crab Rave, they were likely going to be recalling, and they did, so they predicted that correctly, and they already had a vision set up. So, great Baron take on their bait. Now they're trying to find a pick on this Zohair. He's getting rooted up, but he is Rost, so he's pretty tanky, especially with but now does not have the spell shift for the Glacial Prison, forced to flash out. But meanwhile, Washed Up Ribbon on this top side split pushing is going to look for a TP flank. TP's channeling. He's looking forward. Can this be the fight that they need? He's tumbled into 5. There he is. Lands 1, knockup, lands 2. Can he land a 3rd? No. He goes down. Does not get the revive. Zohair, though, is on the back line. Finds 1 kill. Trying to find a second. Does not get the dash to where he wants to go to track down Cage on this Varus. Cooldowns, waiting for those to come up. Trying to go into 4. Lands a knockup onto 2. The Black Shield is on him. They do still want to fight. Darkbind does land. The Maokai has no mana. He's getting incredibly low. There it is. 1 more kill picked up on the best James Bond. Surely a 3rd will follow. Yes, Earl King goes down. And now Moe's Tavern is looking to just run it down topside with the Baron buff on the remaining members.
And after a very over-eager flank that didn't quite work out, at least it set up Zohair to get a pick. That started the early skirmish for the side of Moe's Tavern. They end up taking another kill. Now they have priority on the map. They're pushing in the top lane.
Yes, they are sieging up this inhibitor, and looks like teleport being channeled there by Mowgli the Cat on this Morgana coming in. Tsukumiho getting incredibly low there. Tidal Wave used, and now they're trying to find something, but the Nami's getting so low. Montusker picked off by that Boomerang Blade. The damage coming out just absolutely incredible. Now on the hunt is Pop. They're looking to find something else, but the Corrupt, so the Chains of Corruption there being used, and the snipe by Cage, the piercing arrow finds its target, and they're looking to now clean up as he goes down to the pool, throws out those last hail of arrows before he goes down, but the inhib does go down nonetheless.
Tragic for the side of Cage. Gets a really smart kill, a snipe onto the side of Mowgli, but Kingsland that is, but unfortunately it burns to the ground from Mowgli the Cat. It was still overall a nice play, and you get to push back the attack coming out for the side of Moe's Tavern, but lost an inhibitor because of it, and I'm not sure. Let me check right now whether or not Baron is still on the table. It doesn't look like it anymore, so actually...
Looks like Baron is still on Zohair.
Okay.
He's still got the buff on. I'm not sure for how much longer, and so does Zakumiho there, but probably will be wearing off here pretty shortly, unless that might just be a spectator bug, not sure, but...
Yeah, that's quite weird. Oh, it looks like... Well, anyways, I can assume that no more pushes will be happening, and their attention will now be pulled towards this final dragon, and it is going to be actually Cloud, which isn't too bad in the late game. I think as the game goes later, players start to appreciate the fact that Cloud Drake can allow you to rotate a bit faster. It does give you like around 3% in combat movement speed, which can help in the late game, right? Those late game team fights are a battle of inches, after all.
Well, especially Moe's Tavern, which their whole composition is kind of based upon this high mobility, a lot of movement speed, with things like the Sivir on the hunt, the Karma shielding, things like that, and, wanting to, use those tools to kind of get into the fights and run their teammates down, or sorry, their opponents down. But, and
they must have heard it.
Yeah, they heard me.
It's always nice to be heard.
As, it really is. Washed Up Ribbon wants to be heard here on the top side. Yeah, he's being heard this game. He's trying to 1v2 there for like the 10th time, but
I mean, you pull 3 members up to the top lane. Of course, that's going to mean a bot lane tower picked up for the side of Moe's Tavern. They are just working so well with all the attention that Washed Up Ribbon is pulling to himself.
Yeah, and they're sitting in a pretty comfortable spot here at this point. They've got the 1 inhib down and just kind of slowly pressing their lead here. But I think they do have to be maybe a little bit concerned about the scaling of this Varus. He's already got the Blade of the Rune King and the Rage Blade. Looks like he's probably going to be working on maybe a Runaan's Hurricane next or something of the sort. And if this game goes late, their strong team fighting 5v5 could bring them back into the game.
It's going to be a little difficult to play these team fights now. You have the Maokai in the top lane. He does have TP available, but it looks like it's just going to be the tower taken over here for the side of Moe's Tavern. Just taking towers left and right due to the fact that they have better macro, they have better split push at the current state of the game. Well, almost taking that tire, that is.
Yeah, well, and even though Zakumiho is this really short-range AD carry in the Sivir, he's got the Karma shield as well as the Morgana Black shield to protect him, so he can walk up safely to hit these towers. But then they get into the gauge, the Glacial Prison does land on his Zohair. He gets charmed up as well, and there he is. He gets rooted as well. He does find a way to get the stopwatch off. Wow, but into the backline goes Mowgli the Cat, trying to find two, and he does. Double kill going over to him. But there it is, the last REQ picking that one up. Now Washed Up Ribbon has arrived onto the backline. The World Ender was used. Now trying to let some kills, but gets CC'd up, gets rooted, and he goes down. Double kill going over to Earl King, and it looks like it's a 2-for-2 even trade for these teams at the end. Zohair's not done. Not if he's going to say without it. Flashes in to get the knock up. The Blue Smite is there as well. And there it is, the Flash Karma Mantra Q claims the kill onto Montusker as they siege up this mid lane inhibitor tower.
And off of an engage started from Crab Rave, they did not get the Glacial Prison onto the right target. It didn't look like a solid engage. They get punished for it in the end, and it was finally the flank coming out from Washed Up Ribbon. You know what I love the best about this Aatrox rework? If you don't have the most fantastic flank, like we saw Washed Up Ribbon, you die for it. And that is rightfully so. You should not get an auto revive for having a subpar flank like that. I mean, the sentiment was right, and he did apply a lot of pressure in that team fight, but thank God we live in a world of new Aatrox and not old Aatrox. And his ban started. Now for the side of Crab Rave, what a reaction, actually, and I don't know if this is going to go through all right for them. They're only 4 right now, and the collapse is starting.
Yeah, they're not doing it super fast. I mean, they've got the Mountain Drake to help out, but now Cage looks like being forced out. Just get hit by the Morgana root. He's about half HP now, and now he's all out of position. Cage goes down, Washed Up Ribbon finds the one reset that he needs. Now gets that duration extended on the world, and trying to find a second one. The shutdown goes over there to Earl King, but not before he dies. Zohair now is dominating on this game, and it looks like now Crab Ray will have to run for the hills. And instead of doing this Baron, they're just going to have to be content with hanging on.
And Zohair is just looking fantastic on this Kane right now. And alongside of Washed Up Ribbon, they are both putting on such a performance, finding their way onto the back line of Crab Rave and taking out the right targets. It was Early King and Cage taken down. Here's the steal, though.
Oh, the steal comes through, and it does it! Backpack dives in with the Sejuani and gets the smite steal for his team and buys them a new lease on life in this game.
My boy Backpack over here. Did you hear me, by the way? I said the steal was coming. I'm a prophet. I had so much faith in Backpack, and finally he is able to take up the Baron. Hopefully, though, Crab Rave can stay alive. It looks like it will lose yet another inhibitor because of it.
Yeah, probably going to lose the top and mid inhib, although no, maybe not. Looks like the threat of the engage is there for Crab Rave, and the Spirit Rush comes in. Earl King is now popping up. These team fights, the charm comes through. Does not land for the spell shield, and that's going to be another kill going over to Earl King. And this Ahri is popping off now in these team fights.
Absolutely. I love Ahri scaling, to be honest. The AP just works so well on most of her abilities, and you could see it right there. She didn't have to land all of the skill shots, as we love how Ahris do not always have to land all of their skill shots, but in the end, picking up a nice, actually double kill right there. Wasn't necessarily on the same person, but 2 kills picked up, and that is going to allow you a bit of breathing room for the side of Crab Rave. They're going to take this final dragon spawning, and that'll just about even up the Cloud Drakes.
Yeah, and I think if you're Crab Rave, you're feeling pretty good right now, despite the fact that you have one inhibitor exposed and another one broken, because you're going to have 3 elemental drakes. And the Elder Dragon is a real possibility for this game if they can hold on long enough. Zohair trying to do something, but this Aatrox, with the red cane, he's very tanky, hard to kill. Washed Up Ribbon trying to find another flank, gets exhausted though, and the whole team is collapsing on him. He's not going to get a reset this time. Uses the stopwatch there to can he stay alive? The redemption is there. He is alive for now. The Black Shield comes through, and they found out Best James Bond. He goes down. And now Earl running for his life as Zohair is wreaking havoc on the back line, trying to find another kill on the backpack. Looks like he almost certainly will. The Blue Smite's there. There it is. Godlike is Zohair on this Kane. And there's Montusker as well. And with 3 dead on the side of Crab Rave, it looks like this could potentially be the end of the game switch.
Oh, that's so tragic too. After having the Baron in your hands, you just need to play it much slower, but they opt for the team fight. They think they catch out Washed Up Ribbon. stops the stopwatch, and that is going to be in a great counter engage and a great team fight.
Yep, that will do it, folks. 1-0 in the favor of Mo's Tavern as they claim this first game in the series.
And it was pretty scattered across the entire game, but I would have to say the strong points were still there throughout the whole process, right? You had Washed Up Riven putting on a phenomenal performance on this new Aatrox, and for some of the team fights, they were a bit sketchy, but for the most part, he was applying pressure across whatever lane he happened to be in, was pulling members, and that allowed the Sivir to capitalize and take towers as well. I mean, you saw the top and the bot for the side of Mo's Tavern were just putting on a great performance in that early game. They transitioned it well into the mid game. Sure, they unfortunately got their Baron stolen out of their fingers, but in the end, they get the win anyways.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and I think maybe the unsung hero of that game, and we focused a lot on, like you said, on the top side, because rightfully so, there was a lot of attention there, and Washed Up Ribbon was constantly being a menace in these team fights, as well as Zohair. But I think the unsung hero for me would be Zakumiho on this Sivir, quietly having a pretty good game, 5-2 and 8, and actually did the most damage in the game by a pretty significant margin. At least relative to his teammates. So really, I think that Sivir paid off for them and some smart itemization choices. I like the Essence Reaver to help with the wave clear, so his team can kind of hang in there. I like the more of a reminder to reduce the healing that's coming out from the Maokai and from the Nami. So I think just really played an overall pretty solid game, despite maybe some early blunders in the laning phase.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of kills that aren't necessarily the flashiest, but Zakumiho 100% secured because of his great play, setting himself up in that early game, getting all 5 tower plates, taking the tower as well early, and that allowed him to have that item advantage. He took a lot of kills that he shouldn't have actually gotten if he was even with his opponent Cage on the Varus, but great play overall from him. And you're right, he totally is the unsung hero. Now, heading into this next game now, this is the best of 3, of course, we have to talk about what the response is going to be from Crab Rave, because they played around their top side. They actually got an early kill, admittedly not onto Best James Bond, but around that top side, they got Best James Bond an assist. And he still ended up dying 1v1. The Maokai just did not pan out the way I thought it would, and you're left lacking a lot. You're left wanting more, so moving in, don't exactly know what else Best James Bond can play, but I think you definitely had to switch up the Maokai for some other top lane pick.
Yeah, please don't pick a tank again. You give up too much pressure in the lane and also in the jungle, with your jungler forced to come up and camp for you, and even then, you're still falling behind. So, I think we'll have to see a different look from them. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but we'll find out shortly here. We are going to go over to a short break as we gear up for game 2 of this series. So sit tight, don't touch that browser, and we'll be back in a jiff. Welcome back, everyone. We are into pick and ban for game 2 of this series between Crab Rave and Moe's Tavern, with the first ban on the board being Zillion.
Yeah, and a lot of questions need to be answered for the side of Crab Rave. Their top lane in particular just did not pan out the way they wanted it to. Apply some early pressure there, get ahead. And when you got to that mid game, the split push wasn't going as well for you either. But that is not the only thing that went wrong for the side of Crab Rave. Unfortunately, their bot lane did sort of lack a lot of pressure. And in particular, I would say the duo of Nami Varus did not quite pan out as well like I thought it would. So a lot of adaptations I'm hoping to see for Crab Rave in this pick and ban phase.
Yeah, that was a bit strange that they weren't able to get an advantage for themselves in the bot lane, even in spite of the fact that there was really no jungle attention pretty much paid bottom side. So, it's not like they had that to deal with. It just seems like they were, maybe not used to the matchup or a little bit outclassed in the 2v2 aspect of the game there.
Yeah, we were illustrating one of the flaws of Karma is the fact that she has no escapes, but I mean, when can you engage if you're always 200, 300 HP below your opponents? It's just a tale as old as time. It's a stat check. But first pick is going to be the Kaisa, and very similar bans coming out here. I believe nothing changed. No, there was a slight change for the side of Moe's Tavern. So it was the Rakan, now Sejuani banned for the side of Moe's Tavern.
Yep, but otherwise, pretty much the same bans across the board, and Kaisa going to be the pick there for Crab Rave, prioritizing that hyper carry bottom lane champion. And the duo lane for Moe's Tavern that's going to answer that is going to be the Lucian Nami, and this time around getting the strong lane matchup for themselves.
Yeah, quite, and they looked quite comfortable when they had the priority in lane. They looked like they were applying a lot of pressure onto that tower, but also rotating when it came to it. And I'm expecting a lot of great things again from the side of Moe's Tavern. Lucian Nami is a very fearsome lane to go against, but you know what else is though? Kaisa Leona, and that has a very specific win condition to it, because if Leona can actually manage to land that stun on a particular target, you get potentially instant follow-up from Kaisa with the killer instinct.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just very, very strong lane if they're able to kind of land those CC abilities. I think that's very easy to do on a target like the Nami, who's very immobile. And if does not have flash, pretty much it's just a guaranteed kill with how squishy she is. The Lucian a little bit harder of a target because of his dash, but if you know that dash is on cooldown, certainly can be a priority target for that Leona. And we're going to have to see how that matchup plays out. And if Leona's able to find those engages, or if she's getting poked out by the Nami with the Tidecaller's Blessing, buffed auto attacks from the Lucian.
Yeah, and the Corki as well, going to be rounding out Crab Rave's first pick phase. And Corki, another marksman, but something that a lot of players seem to forget is the fact that the package is such an influential passive to have. I mean, once you pick it up, you basically say, yeah, I hope no one on the enemy team pushes, or else I'm gonna come to their lane and mess up their day. And that can really be capitalized on, especially if you have a Leona to work with as well. So nice pickup there. And the Ahri going to be rounding out Moe's Tavern's Kim ban phase. I mean, the Ahri, seeing it again, seemed to play okay. So now Moe's Tavern having a go at it.
Yeah, they decide they want to steal that pick for themselves this game. Very interesting that Crab Rave played the Ahri and the Nami last game, and this time around Moe's Tavern pick up those champions. So maybe saying, hey, anything you can do, we can do better. But at any rate, looks like the last bans are coming through. The Hecarim and Aatrox, no surprise that Aatrox being banned after that game 1, and the Maokai and Orin some tanks being banned out as well.
Wow, there's some adaptation for you. I mean, just ban that Aatrox straight up. See if you can try your hand at a different matchup. The Rek'Sai, we saw it banned last pick and ban phase, but now let through, and it is going to be Moe's Tavern picking it up. I would say Rek'Sai is still in a quite good position. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa, let's rewind for a minute.
Do you want to take this?
So, Ivern, Switch, I'll let you take it. I'll let you take this one.
Ivern is a champion, and he has been picked in this current pick and ban phase by Crab's Rave, and I had no idea what to expect from this. I'm not even going to try and BS it. I have no idea what to expect from Ivern. But I would imagine that he does better with the new Skull Crab changes. I mean, he is going to have access to all of his abilities, so I guess he might have had like a micro buff in that aspect, but we haven't seen him touched directly in terms of the patch notes recently. I mean, Ivern, it still is that playstyle, though, that we saw most Tavern working with, but now Crab's Rave working with, where they have specific carries on their team, and they're going to try and enable them as much as possible. We saw it with the Morgana from most Tavern. Now it is going to be the Ivern, hopefully helping that Kaisa carry through that mid to late game.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of question marks for me about Crab Rave's draft, in particular that Ivern. And then I think most Tavern played it very smart in this draft, leaving their top lane counter pick for last, knowing that is the matchup on the Rift where they've had the most success. They showed it with the Aatrox last game. And of course, the Ribbon banned out, so Washed Up Ribbon can't play that. But you could see he wants to play these carry champions to press his advantage in the top lane. So leaving him to counterpick in the top lane, saying, okay, you guys pick the Malphite, whatever, we're going to take Sylas. Really surprising to me that Sylas actually fell this far in the draft for the very last pick and wasn't banned out either, with how strong he is in the current meta. So I like most Taverns draft a lot more, and they also picked up a strong jungler as well, who can really skirmish, without much fear, given that they have the Ivern on the other side.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, let's bring it back to MSI that we've all been watching, hopefully currently. Silence has a huge presence at MSI. It is that flex pick that you can put in the top and the mid, and picking that early is so important for these MSI teams. Now, since 9.8, Size has actually gotten a buff, I believe. It was a numbers buff to his Kingslayer damage, but either way, like, he's even better than he was last patch, so you're completely right. Surprised to see it fall all the way to literally the last pick that you can possibly get in this pick and ban phase. But either way, glad to see it scooped up. And listen, I'd hate to put the spotlight on a particular player, but I have questions about Best James Bond's champion pool at the moment, because it looks like he's only really comfortable on tanks. I mean, it's hard to say, right? He did have blind pick, but at the same time, this is not in any way a meta pick that we have been seeing recently.
Yeah, definitely not. And tanks are really just not that strong, in the current meta either. So, it's a shame that, we aren't seeing them kind of adapting to something else. Maybe they'll prove us wrong, but overall, I would say, looking at the pick and ban so far for Game 2, I'd probably favor Most Tavern, and they are 1-0 up in the series. They've got the momentum going in their way, and they did 2-0 Crab Rave in their last encounter. So I think really there's a lot of things going in their favor at this point. It's going to be up to Crab Rave to really, maintain that strong mental fortitude going into this Game 2 if they want to take this to a Game 3.
It really will. And I mean, Most Tavern, it looks like they have a relatively similar composition where a lot of priority in the early game. You got the Lucian and Nami. You could be expecting that push in and have the better early 2v2. And look at the top lane. Looks like it's going to be Sylas, right? Unless we pull off some weird flex. But either way, Sylas scales great into the game, right? He has a big presence, just as much perhaps as the Aatrox, and it's a point that you have to contest early game if you are Crab's Rave. You do not want to see another top lane fiasco like we saw from Washed Up Ribbon.
Yeah, and just taking a step back and looking at these team compositions overall at this point, I think Crab Rave, where they do shine is really strong engage, with the Malphite Unstoppable Force, with Leona Solar Flare. They've got these tools, and even the Corki package to some extent, to really start off fights on their terms if they want to, and they've got solid burst with the Corki and the Kaisa. So it's not like their composition is terrible. It's just gonna really require them to know when to pull the trigger and to look for these team fights. Most Tavern, certainly not a bad team fighting composition themselves, but I would say probably lends itself more towards those skirmishes and picks, with the Ahri and the Rek'Sai and, Lucian Nami as well. Lucian being that more short range AD carry, is going to benefit more from kind of smaller skirmishes than he will from a full-on 5v5 team fight.
I would say so. And I think this game is going to be the real test to see whether or not Crab's Rave can play to their win conditions, because you outlined it for us here. There is a very strong win condition. It's playing around that package. It's locking down nice AoE ultimates onto many members of the side of most Tavern, and hopefully snowballing the team fight from there. You have an 80 carry or a carry marksman that you can set up, whether it be the Corki or the Kaisa, and hopefully they can snowball through the game. But if we don't see any of those team fights happening, if we don't see playing around the package, playing around these hard engages, we're really going to see Crowd's Rave falter.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, if they don't, then if they are able to have some early success and they kind of transition that into the later game, they're really not in a bad position. They've got double marksman composition, so they'll shred towers quite easily.
You got a great mid game, yeah.
Yeah, so it should be an interesting game, and we're gonna go ahead and go over to a quick break now. We're just waiting for the spectator delay to count down at this point, and we will be with you all for game 2 of this series between Moe's Tavern and Crab Rave. Stay tuned. All right, we are on to the Rift here for Game 2 of this best of 3 between Crab Rave and Moe's Tavern. Some BM coming out in the chat here for this Game 2.
Everyone's just having a good time, you know. I mean, at least we have successfully identified the Chad, like I just said previously.
Yeah, it looks like Glacial Augment going to be taken here by Mowgli the Cat on the Ari this game. So yet again taking that rune of choice.
Personally, I really like Glacial Augment. I don't know. I think it works wonders for your team. So, you look like the Eugene, so to speak, but in the end, you're just playing towards your team. You just want to take the W.
Yeah, I think it facilitates the picks a lot easier. With those persistent slows. So definitely something to look out for. But it does mean he's going to have a diminished capacity in the 1v1 because he doesn't take something like the Electrocute, for instance, that would give him that extra burst for the solo kills.
Yeah, Corki is a pick that I feel like is sort of regarded as like an A or a B tier mid lane pick. Not necessarily S tier, but it has this great perks to it. And we were talking about a lot before, but there is that package that you have to work with, especially around those early objectives, right? I think the difference between a good Corki and a great Corki is knowing the right timing to pick up your package, because contrary to those first-time Corkis, you do not have to pick it up when it spawns. Please stop picking it up when it just spawns. Save it for a dragon or something.
Ooh, some nice damage there from Zakumi on the Lucian.
Oh, here we go
the top
again.
side, there's the chain slash coming out and just bullying Best James Bond. Yep, yet again, it's different champs, but same matchup.
Someone help. I'm having deja vu right now. I just hope Best James Bond can weather the storm. I don't know if Backpack is going to be preferring to play around that top side. I mean, it didn't work out for them technically game 1. And I would say a lot of this composition relies on getting one of your marksmen ahead, whether it be the Corki or the Kaisa, to really make the team fights work for you.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be seeing as much camp on the top side with this Ivern. I think he's more vulnerable to getting 1v2 than the Sejuani was from game 1. But he's looking for a gank here on the bottom side. The Root Collar does land, but it looks like he's going to be deterred by King's Land on that Nami, throwing out the heal as well as giving that Tie Caller's Blessing over to Zagumiho. They're going to walk out safely, just fine.
Yeah, just a couple of love taps, and you can already see how fearsome the duo is of Lucian and Nami. They have everything. They've got the damage, they got the sustain, and Lucian packing a bit of mobility as well to work with, and it's the whole package for a marksman.
I see what you did there. It's the whole package.
Yeah, intentional.
Okay, here we go. Von Tusker going in there onto the duo lane. Okay, like he's going to be forced to flash out actually because does not have the support there from Cage. So Summoner blown.
Well, I suppose that's an okay trade. Sure, you blow the flash, but it's all just to test your grounds, Just feeling out the water. Is it too cold? It's too hot? It's too hot. You can't go in right now.
Yeah, it was more like a zoning flash, In the top side, we have our first gank. The flash on Burrow is there, but do they have the damage to finish it off? No! Best James Bond gets out with his life. The Prey Seeker, they're trying to find it, but not going to be enough damage, and he's going to walk out just fine.
Yeah, Early King getting chunked as well, and across the map, actually, just the side of Moe's Tavern, putting on the dominant performance at the moment. They're getting preferable chunks across all of their lanes, and let's talk about like jungle for a second, because when you're playing jungle and all of your lanes are winning, you just feel empowered. Yeah, I can do anything. The world is my oyster. So I'm gonna take like his chickens or something like that. You feel capable to go for these invades or to go for these early objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. In the bot lane, though, some skirmishing going down. Ignite Dominus Zakuma forced to flash out, but he's going to take down Montusker. Going to claim first blood in the bottom lane.
Well, don't think so. Here's feeling so empowered right now. That's actually a surprising duo kill, I would say, because, we saw the Summoner spell advantage for the side of Moe's Tavern, but in the end, they lose the 2v2, and hey, maybe this is just another one of those times where you're not playing around Nami's win condition, which is out sustain, out poke your opponent. So it's like sort of a war of attrition type play, but it is hard against Leona after all.
Oh, now Mowgli looking for a solo kill in the mid lane. Does not land the charm. Orb Deception used as well. Does get the return damage onto Earl King, but that's not going to be a kill for him. So just ultimate burnt there. Both mid laners about half HP.
At the very least, after seeing this first kill going over to Crab Rave, perhaps we will see a much more back and forth game like last game. Would love to see what we were talking about, but would love to see Crab's Rave come out with an early advantage.
Yeah, and just to touch more on that bottom lane matchup, you were saying, you were not expecting it to go the way that it did, and I totally agree with you. I mean, Lucian Nami is that much stronger early dominant type of lane. When Kaisa and Leona are pre-6, they're not really at their full power level. They need to win 6 to get those ultimates unlocked, but I think Zakumiho just didn't respect the Leona. The fact that he got hit by the Zenith Blade with the follow-up stun, with the Ignite, with Kaisa autoing him all the while. Those are things that you can't afford to do. Even though you have a winning lane matchup, doesn't mean you just get to walk up without confusion.
Backpack coming in for this gank.
Yep, and there it is, the Unstoppable Force, and now Washed Up Riven gets this Kingslayer healing there, but it's not going to be enough. He is going to go down. Best James Bond picking up that kill thanks to the gank from Backpack.
And there you go, smart play from Backpack. I even expected him to start playing much more around his bottom side, but does a very unexpected visit to the top lane, and if he gets rewarded for it. Now, a little bit of an invade coming out from Zohair. You can see already Mowgli the cat is starting to roam. Apply a bit of pressure. Zohair knows where Backpack is at the moment. I don't know if this 1v1 is in his favor.
I think it would be if he can find the knock up there. He's leveled down, but he does have the damage. Daisy comes out. The Brushmaker used there, but he's so low and out of mana.
Here comes Early King.
Yeah, Earl King is roaming. He's got the priority, but Washed Up Ribbon is there as well on the Silas, so they have the numbers advantage for now. Best James Bond is showing up as well. It looks like he hijacks that Corki ultimate, but is going to be able to get out of there safely for now.
Yeah, a couple whiffs, and that's going to be the end of that. Looks like the blue buff will eventually be secured for Crab's Rave, so nothing lost, nothing gained after all.
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure, but I will say that's more indicative of a larger issue that Backpack is having this game, which is Zohair is just so far ahead of him in terms of tempo and pressure. You can look at the CS differential, doing quite well for himself. But in the bottom lane, some skirmishing going down. The Ignite's dropped on Zakumiho.
Wow.
This time he's not going to get bursted out, and roughly even trade. I'd say maybe Crab Rave getting the slight better end of that one.
Yeah, surprisingly too. I mean, I didn't even think that was the best 2v2 for Crab Rave, but just the numbers of Leona at the moment in the early game are just massive, and they end up taking, I would say, a better trade. It is more preferable to get the AD carry chunked out because he doesn't always have as many potions as the support, but in the end, it is going to be Nami sustain, hopefully getting him back up to full.
Ooh, nice trade there, though, from Zakumiho. Like you said, does have that Nami healing to get him back up to full, and with that press the attack proc, as well as his abilities there, is going to chunk out Montusker now below 50% HP. A Backpack trying to close his control war, but might have been caught out here.
Cage and Montusker hovering.
Yeah, looks like his bottom lane did have priorities, so they roamed up, but now Rek'Sai has arrived. Zohair with the blue smite, the Solar Flare is not going to be enough to save Montusker. He's going to go down. Zakumiho claiming that kill, and now looks like they may turn their sights onto this first rake of the game.
A very poised collapse coming out here for the side of Moe's Tavern. They were lying in wait, and they finally get rewarded for it. They're going to be going on to this dragon as well, and you can imagine it's not going to be contested. The package is available for Earl King, but that would be somewhat of suicide, and you do not want to see that early in the game. So that's it. It's going to be an early cloud trick. Yeah.
That would be a one-way trip, I think, for Earl King, and probably wouldn't secure the dragon. So best off to not use it there. Use it for some wave clear in the mid lane instead.
Yeah. You'd at least build up on your frequent flyer miles, I will say.
That's true.
Gotta build those up,
Yeah, they pay off. Little by little, you get the points.
I'm told. Me personally, though, I do not frequently fly. So.
Oh, well, King's Landing might fly off the rift here, getting caught out. They're using the tidal wave, but it's gotten so low, and he's going to go down to Cage. And just out of position there, and Zakumiho almost as well, but he is going to get himself out there with the dash.
Yeah, out of position might just be an understatement even. He was playing so aggressively right there, and rightfully so punished for that. So Kingsland, I mean, still this dual lane is not quite performing the way you want it to in the isolated 2v2 for the side of Most Tavern.
Yeah, I mean, we saw kind of a similar story in game one. They kind of turned it around and had some good team fighting, but the 2v2 is just not quite there. But in the top lane, washed up Ribbon, stole the Malphite ultimate, but it looks like it didn't quite connect there. Yeah. As a result, not going to get that kill. The root caller just landed. There it is. The unstoppable force from Best James Band. There's the trigger seed as well. Best James Band claims that kill on the washed up Ribbon as 3 have arrived on the top side for Crab Rave.
And a really sick game coming out for backpack here. Landed the snare, and you could see Earl King as well poised to come in for that collapse, but wasn't needed. Either way, Crab's Rave are coming to life here in this early game. Oh, Zoe here. He wants to find himself a kill.
Yeah, gets the Unbarrel, the Conqueror's proc there. Is going to use that Void Rush and does get the Execute shutdown going over to him. He's going to be happy to have that gold in his pocket.
Well, that's quite unfortunate, but at the very least, you can look forward to securing this Rift Herald. I don't know if Zohair's going to go in for the steal.
Oh, he might. Rift Herald still high enough HP, but they do go ahead and scare with the smite, but they've not picked up Rift Herald yet. Oh, looks like they let him go back in for it. But the Spirit Rush is there. The Charm is as well. The Ignite is ticking. Backpack is going to go down. Mogu the Cat claims that kill. Third charge, the Spirit Rush used there. Valkyrie forced out from Earl King, trying to run for his life. The Glacial Augment slow, trying to come through.
Mana.
There is no mana. He is going to be forced to flash over that wall to get himself out of that one.
Well, Backpack, unfortunately, paying that Rift Herald with his life, but in the end they are able to secure it. You would hope that he can utilize it within the next minute and a half so that he can get the full power plating gold advantage.
Oh, great Zenith with the Killer Instinct and the Solar Flare. Oh my word! Kingsland is absolutely deleted from the Rift.
And I mean, this bottom lane coming out from Crab's Rave is performing so well right now. They're going to be getting even more tower playing, you can imagine, coming out into crash this bottom wave in, but
oh, the flash on is there. The Ignite as well. The Zenith blade connects and he flashes, but to no avail. Cage now on a killing spree in this bottom lane as they look to continue to assert their dominance. Meanwhile, on the top side, the unstoppable force used, washed up Ribbon, trying to get out of his life. He absconds out, gets the shield, and does just barely get out of that one. But now going to lose pressure in that lane.
Wow, we're seeing such a contrast to last game where the lanes are just absolutely stomping for the side of Crab Rave, and this is exactly what you want to see coming into this game too, having a great early game pressure. And
the flash unburrowed that from Zohair, but the Valkyrie was used, trying to close the distance. Mowgli the Cat, though, does have that Glacial Augment slow, but doesn't quite have the damage. Trying to push back. The Charm does land. Trigger Seed Shield is there, though. So it looks like they're going to get out of that one. Rift Herald was summoned mid. Did get a couple of plates, but that's going to be it.
Yeah, just a bit of a skirmish, but no results gotten from that. Either way, it's still a great early game. More skirmishing.
More skirmishing. Spirit Rush coming out. Does land the Q for the Orb of Deception. Can't get the last auto, and he does. Mowgli the Cat picking up the solo kill on Earl King.
Man, there's just kills flying all over the place where I least expected. Backpack.
It's non-stop fighting switch. There it is. The Trigger Seed root lands. Daisy is here, and Washed Up Ribbon is not playing Aatrox. This game doesn't quite have the same level of healing. He's trying to get himself out of this one, but the persistent slows and roots are going to keep him locked down. Meanwhile, in the bomb lane, Solar Flare comes out. The coating is there. Can it take him down? It does. Zohair now has picked up that kill, trying to find a second one, goes in with the Void Rush, but has gone too far. Now Zakumiho taking out the tower. Cage going to get those double buffs and get himself out.
Wow, Cage luckily able to survive that dive from Zohair, and I mean, when we wrap back around to that top lane, I bet Washed Up Ribbon is sick and tired of this 2v1 situation, and unfortunately his team is falling behind for it. You gotta imagine that. I would love to see a switch up of the playstyle coming out here for the side of Most Taverns to really respond to all the lanes winning. I would say, well, minus the mid lane for the side of Crab's Rave.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little strange that they drafted these kind of winning lanes, at least in bottom and top, and they've really fallen pretty far behind. And Washed Up Ribbon, like you said, not respecting the jungle pressure. I mean, this is not something that should be new to him, given the game one. He obviously knows he's going to be attracting a lot of pressure with the type of playstyle he's got, but he just doesn't seem to be really respecting it enough. Not getting the necessary wards down to scout that stuff out.
Yeah, we're not seeing most Tavern in the same position that they were last game. If you recall, whenever someone would come and gank Washed Up Riven, his team would be at the right position to capitalize on it, whether it be the objective play around Dragons or around Barons, or whether it be taking other objectives like towers. They were in the right position, but not this game at all.
Yeah, and Zohair has tried to make some plays on the bottom side. Kind of a bit of a failed dive. I mean, some mixed results, I guess. He did get one kill, ended up dying, and giving away double busts on the other one. So he's trying to do some things, but not quite panning out quite as well as the game one did. And I guess to Washed Up Riven's credit, even though he has died 3 times. Oh, before we talk about that, the bottom lane, great snare there, locks up. Zakumi, he goes down. Cage is unstoppable on this Kai'Sa, and with 4 people strong, make it 5 if you count Daisy. They're going to be sieging up this bot lane tower, and it looks like most Tavern does not quite have the numbers just yet to contest them, so forced to watch that tower go down.
Jummer, we had skepticism on this Ivern, but Backpack with the spicy plays.
Oh, but Washed Up Riven stole the Malphite ultimate there and landed it onto a couple. And now Bestring's Bond is showing up with the Malphite ult of his own, and the health bar is getting so low. Cage is dominating on this Kai'Sa, just absolutely running over with the game. 6-0-3, and they clean house here with 3 dead on the side of most Tavern. That means that Crab Rave is going to be free to take this streak.
And that's just more bizarre play coming out from the side of most Taverns, just seemingly wandering into the Riven. They get punished for it off the back of Backpack, landing a nice snare, and that allowed the skirmish to engage. Best James Bond had a nice unstoppable force, and that just about sealed up that team fight. So great play overall coming out from Crab's Raven. You gotta imagine that they're going to have a very good time snowballing this advantage. Right, we talked about their composition, and they have great engage. They got the package, they got the unstoppable force, great tools to deal with. So looking forward to it in the future.
Yeah, and this Kai'Sa is just such a problem. She's already at 2 items, got the Storm Razor and the Rage Blade, which means she's got her evolved Q and because of the boots of speed, her evolved Q and E. So she's really quite strong at this point. Only going to get stronger as the game goes on.
Tusker, he's quite tanky. There we go.
The gauge is down there. Zohair might have been caught out. He tunnels out, but he's going to go down to that last missile barrage there from Urking on this Corki. Now trying to find a second kill. The phosphorus bomb used, but not going to quite have the damage to kill King's Land. But that is a nice pick that's going to be going in their favor as they look to establish some control here over the top side.
And we're just seeing repeatedly bad calls come out from the side of most Tavern. They just do not look as comfortable as they did in the game one. A lot of pressure now given over. And, Washed Up Riven, you might just take a bot tower for it, but it is going to be traded for the top tower for the side of Crab's Raid.
Yeah, trying to salvage something off of the back of that misplay there on the top side does claim a tower, but a tower also grabbed on the top side by Crab Rave. So, they equalize that and, in addition to that, get the kill. So I think they're still very much in the driver's seat of this game, sitting up, about 5k gold at this point, which is quite hefty at this point in the game.
And we're seeing 2 sides of Washed Up Riven, I'd have to say here. On the one hand, when we saw him soak up so much pressure, it looked genius, right? Oh, he's bringing more members to him, and his team is capitalizing off of it. Here we see, in a game where his team cannot capitalize off of it, he's literally just feeding at this point. Unfortunately, he's 0-4 at the... Just cannot find his footing in this game. I don't know if the split push is going to work out for him too much either. So I think the side of most Tavern had to find some place to play around or some power point to play around, but just not finding the right answers at the moment.
Yep, and Solar Flare was whiffed there by Tusker in the middle. They were trying to find a pick on the Mowgli the Cat, but could not quite find it. I will say, though, that Washed Up Riven, just talk a little more about the pick itself, the Silas pick. Once he's able to get level 16, that ultimate cooldown is going to be on, I think 9-second cooldown or something ridiculous.
Sure.
He can constantly steal multiple ultimates. So if they can hang on long enough, they might have a window back into this game as it goes a little bit later.
Yeah, well, looks like Crab Rave have no intentions of slowing this pace down. They're already controlling this Baron. It just spawned. It's 20 minutes, but some great control coming out from them. And you have some nice tools to play around. You got the Leona engage. You have Backpack as well, who's been landing snare after snare. So it's really not safe for the side of. Sorry, Mo's Tavern.
Mo's Tavern, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely not safe. They don't quite have the vision. Need to buy some more control wards if they want to be able to have some vision in their own jungle, so they're not able to just get instantly caught out by Montusker on this Leona and the follow-up CC as well. But for now, just looking to play wave clear.
Yeah, we're seeing the age-old strategy of group up and just walk through the enemy jungle and see hero, kill hero. Probably going in the mind of Montusker at the moment. He's been so eager to get these engages, and they've been getting better and better for his team at the moment. That's the thing, right? It's two sides of Leona as well. Like we talked about with Wash Up Rip and two sides of him. It's two sides of Leona. If you're winning, you look fantastic. If you're losing, you don't have escapes. You're sort of like a walking sponge, and sometimes you just end up dying.
Yeah, I gotta say, I like this decision by Crabrave to send Earl King to match the Sylas, as opposed to just sending your tank Malphite, who the Sylas could, potentially abuse in the side lane. Because there's no way that the Sylas is going to be able to take it to the Corki, and he's got his Trinity Force, he's got his Rapid Fire Cannon and the Sork Shoes, so really quite strong for himself, and he can actually apply more pressure and push Washed Up Ribbon on the Sylas into his own tower and eliminate that split push threat.
Yeah, Washed Up Ribbon, he just has not been able to get the items that he needs to thrive in this game. That's going to be another dragon given over to the side of Crabsray for no contestation. Mountain Drake is going to feel quite nice when you're looking to seal up the game, either through taking towers or through taking those neutral objectives like Baron.
Well, and it looks like Crabrave going to go ahead and reset there with those recalls. They stock up on some control wards, and I would be surprised, Switch, if we didn't see them start to place some of those control wards around the Baron and make that their next objective.
Yeah, you gotta imagine. I mean, at the moment they have a very strong lead. It's 5k at 22 or 23 minutes rather, and you gotta press that lead, right? You can't just let the side of Mo's Tavern scale
my word, the package and the Killer Instinct have arrived. Say goodbye, Zakumiho. He was not long for this world.
Yeah, and wow, that knock up from the side of the package actually allowing the Killer Instinct to get placed for the side of Cage, and that's already a pick. You can look to start baiting around this Baron. I don't know if you would want to fully commit to it though. Nice interference from Best James Bond, just trying to stop the TP perhaps, but getting low.
First to use that unstoppable force, but Watch the Brutus steals it, says, I'll take that ultimate, thank you very much. Trying to find the kill, and there it is. He's going to grab it with the Baron. Now at 2k HP, Zohair trying to find it in, but now Montusker has something to say about it. He bores in, he gets the steal! Zohair has found the Baron for his team, and would you believe it? Cage going legendary on that Kaisa, and even in spite of Crabsray being in control of this game, Zohair finds a way to keep his team in it.
Are you kidding me? Zohair right back at you. Backpack, you want to steal my Baron? Here we go. Game 2, I'm going to steal your Baron. And wow, those two turns of events are just not what you want to see happen for the side of Crabsray. They lost their split pusher, just trying to interfere with a recall or a TP coming out from Washed Up Ribbon, and then you lose the Baron as well. You got to say, not the best shot calling coming out. I mean, you did not need to go for that essentially 50-50 of the Baron for Crabsray. They take a tower for it, but in the end, they're facing a Baron buff empowered enemy team.
Yeah, a bit unnecessarily risky there. Curling coming out there, trying to find his kill on the Earl King. The charm does land, but there's the unstoppable force. Shutdown goes over Mowgli. The solar flare lands there, and Wash Up forced to flash out. The Zakumiho is picking up a kill on Backpack on the backside of that, so two are now down for Crabrave as the Baron buff empowered minions are sieging up this mid lane for Mo's Town. And wow, a nice bubble onto two, but it's not going to be anything for the follow-up damage. Baron buff, though, still being applied, and looks like they will claim this tier 1 mid.
Yeah, quite alright. You can still keep up this push with the Baron buff, and I'd love to see a split actually coming out. Just send someone to that bot lane because the wave's in a good position. Top would even work, but no, it looks like they're actually going to be allowed to take yet another tower. You could expect the reset coming in here now, and then they can fully buy items to look at this next push for themselves.
Yeah, and a couple of really important towers picked up there for Most Tavern. The two outer mid turrets. That really those turrets allow them to open up the map so much more and establish vision into their enemy's jungle. So I think it's the right call there to go for those two towers. Now they can kind of reset, and they probably still have a little bit of Baron buff left over to maybe go bot or top if they want to try to grab some more towers.
Yeah, and okay, nice charm. I mean, genre, we talked about exactly what Crab Rave needed to do. They needed to take a lead in the early game, and they needed to keep it, but unfortunately, giving over this Baron, that's going to mean more gold given over to the side of Most Tavern, and not quite what you want to see. I don't know about the scaling coming out for the side of Crab Rave at the moment. Sure, 2 marksmen, but you're also lacking a bit of other damage aside from that, right? You don't have a split push threat. You don't have really anything other than the 2 marksmen. So if either of them dies, it's going to be a quite bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of all eggs in those baskets, but I mean, those baskets are pretty well fortified with a strong front line, and they've got the Ivern shielding as well, so an Ardent Sensor as well completed for Backpack. So I think they're still in a decent position, right? I mean, they're up still about 3,000 gold, certainly not as much as they were before that whole Baron disaster, but they're still in a pretty good spot. They've got decent scaling. They just need to, not make too many, rash decisions here that could cost them the game, when they're still really in the lead.
Right, find your footing again. Try and play around your win conditions. It is starting up fights with that man advantage. Right now, Dragon coming up right now. Going to see both teams contesting it. Package is available.
Yeah, package used there, but not going to really find anybody. Just kind of cutting off an escape path and zoning them out of the Dragon area. Now the Tidal Wave does come out, but there's not going to be any follow-up. Best James Bond looking for something on this front line, but really just going to be, it looks like, a disengage to force them out of the Dragon area so Crab Rave can pick up this Ocean Drake.
Yeah, and Ocean Drake, I mean, it is a nice consolation prize, but not necessarily going to get you right back into the driver's seat of this game. I'd love to see a great engage coming out from them, but unfortunately, none to be had during that engage.
So they're trying to find a Bond, unstoppable force used there just to get out, knowing he was really outnumbered there and outgunned.
Yeah, still, both teams trying to play very close to each other at the moment, and you gotta imagine it's the trigger, the finger on the trigger for the side of Montusker and Best James Bond. Well, Best James Bond no longer with that ultimate, so just Montusker trying to look for the preferable engages, and that's really going to set up your team, right? You're not talking about these skirmishes, you're talking about front to back team fights. You got the double marksman to work for your advantage, so if you can lock up these frontline targets for the side of Most Tavern, you can really get a lot of free time for your marksman to start whacking away at them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I think that's exactly why Most Tavern opted not to fight for that Drake. I mean, obviously the package had something to do with that. It kind of cut them off, but you can see they were very, very concerned about a straight-up 5v5 fight around that Drake, and ultimately, I think correctly, opted not to take that fight because they don't have the better team fight composition. Their 5v5 is just not nearly as good as Crab Rave's is, so they really need to be looking for more of those skirmishes, establishing vision and looking for picks like they tried to do onto Best James Bond before he ulted out. So if they can find those picks and do that, that's really going to be what they're going to need to be successful in this game.
Yeah, that end, you can already see Washed Up Ribbing starting up that split push again. It worked well for him when Best James Bond overextended. Now just trying to start it up once again, and I mean, it's a balancing act for the side of Most Tavern. They have to manage keeping their 4-man safe from the hard engages of Montusker, and also applying a lot of pressure in that split push for the side of Washed Up Riven. Still whacking away at that mouth. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, it definitely is, but you can see he's making some decent progress.
Oh, no.
Great solar flare. Mowgli almost caught Clyde out. He gets out with the Spirit Rush. He was burning down there, but not going to be enough to take him down. So just going to be that Leona ultimate expended, but I think probably worth it in the end, forcing that mid laner to recall.
Yeah, well, this might be a point to play around. I mean, you know for a fact Mowgli had to back here, and that is going to allow washed up Raven to not have to worry about any real roams here, and he is going to take that bot tower. Here's Baron started, so for the side of Crab Rave, it's down to 6k.
It's like deja vu switch. It could be another 50-50. Like burrows in, but this time he's too late. Not going to claim it. He is going to lose his life in the process. Cage goes legendary on the Kaisa. Now flash forward by Montusco. The Solar Flare is not quite connected. The slow does. Now Cage has gone in with the Killer Instinct. A double kill for him on the Kaisa as he's completely taking over this game. 10-0 and 4.
And a very intelligent engage, focusing on to Mowgli because they blew the Spirit's Rush already. Knew he only had the flash available to himself, so nice Killer Instinct from Cage as well to just about lock up that kill. And now you're looking to really put the finishing touches on this game. You don't have to worry about the split push anymore. You forced Washed Up Riven to back. Now just stay safe and take these towers.
Yeah, the name of the game here is going to be playing it slow. We've got the TP coming in, so all 5 members now are here for the push. They are going to claim that mid inhibitor and probably will rotate top and take out that last top outer tower.
Yeah, playing it by the book for the most part. You don't need to stray too far away from the game plan.
Yeah, they put 3 control wards in that push, so not the best communication there about who should ward that, but
I think it's clear. Yeah, I think there's no wars in it.
I think they wanted some vision in that brush.
Wow. Either way, a solid push for the most part. You get another 2 towers. The reset came out, so let's check how much of the duration left there is on this Baron at the moment.
Hard to say.
Yep.
That's it, folks. It's hard to say. The client's not showing us.
It's about this much. You can't see it, but I'm holding out my hands. Okay, Montusker taking up a lot.
Yeah, the Void Rush used up by Zohar, trying to find Execute, but he's not going to be able to find it. No damage. Cage, yet again, legendary on this Kaisa. Just absolutely unstoppable in this game. Mowgli trying to find something, but the charm does not land, and it gets caught out. Oh, it's tragic for Mowgli as he loses his life.
When you try and make a dunk, but you just fall flat on your face. Unfortunately, Mowgli dying there. That might just be the finishing push here. Nice package.
Ooh, great package there with the stopwatch as well. And there's the Redemption Healing, and the Arrow King picks up another kill for himself, trying to find another one, but really it's all just going to be icing on the cake at this point as Crab Brave is just looking to walk this one in. Solar Flare lands there on the washed up Riven, going to be forced to flash out. Zakumo getting low as well, but they are going to be sitting safe for now on the fountain as the Nexus is ticking down, and Crab Brave looks to even the score here, 1-1 in the series.
And it feels like the shoe is on the other foot. We saw Game 1 play out relatively similarly to Game 2. The one team got an early lead, in this case Crab Rave. They got an early lead. Sure, they ended up taking a 50-50. They got their Baron stolen away from them, but in the end, they are able to take the win. And off of a great performance, I would say, especially from Cage, 11-0-6. That is a game to be proud of. I mean, not dying at all. And if I had to imagine, probably doing the most damage on your team. I mean, you really had Earl King to compete with there, and it was a great composition to work with as well. You had Guaranteed Engage, you had Montusker on the Leona, Best James Bond on the Malphite, and he also had the Enabling coming out from Backpack. He built the Ardent Sensor early, probably kept those shields almost all the time onto Cage, and Cage was allowed to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. Cage just smurfing this game. We'll see if he can keep that performance up heading into Game 3, which will be the decider here between Crab Brave and Moe's Tavern. Stick with us, and we'll have this deciding game for you after a short break. And here we are getting into pick and ban for Game 3, the final deciding game of this series between Moe's Tavern and Crab Rave, with the first bans coming on the board. A lot of the same stuff we've seen in Game 1 and Game 2 so far.
Yeah, and actually, judging from both games that we've seen so far, I don't know who I would necessarily favor. I mean, we've seen strong play coming out of both teams. But then again, I am a Crab Rave sympathizer. So I'm a big fan of Backpack, you know. He had the spiciest Ivern I've seen in a long time, no?
Yeah, although I don't know that they won because of the Ivern. Probably in spite of the Ivern. You probably could have substituted Ivern out for any other standing jungler, and they probably would have won.
Man,
but I think
part of the Ivern.
I think that, I don't know, Moe's Tavern, I did not like the Lucian with the Nami. I mean, it's traditionally thought of as more of a bully lane, but clearly they weren't able to do anything with it. They just didn't have the tempo or the pressure, and they're the ones who ended up getting bullied, after level 6 was unlocked, essentially, and Kai'Sa just kind of ran away with the game.
They did. Very odd play coming out from Moe's Tavern that game too, but I'm looking forward to Game 3. You could set up a whole new draft, and hopefully you could really play around your strong points. And I would still say that is playing around Washed Up Riven, right? You know he's going to push. You know he's going to attract attention. At this point, I don't think you can quite control it. But at the very least, you can be in the right positions to play around it, right? And that's what we saw in the Game 3. That was Washed Up Riven pulling members over to him, stringing Crab's Rave across the map, and that did allow a lot of time for Moe's Tavern to get stuff done on the other sides of the map.
Yeah, and something of note, Aatrox was not banned this game. Certainly had a pretty good performance on it. Like you said, drew a lot of pressure in that Game 1, so it is available for them to pick up if they should so choose, but they may want to save that for later on in the draft and wait to see if they can find out what Crab Rave's top laner is first. But Crab Rave does have counter pick this game, so if they want, they don't have to show their top laner until the very end of the draft.
That's true, but I mean, then again, in that pick and ban phase for Game 1, I believe the counter pick was actually the Maokai into the Aatrox, and well, we remember how that turned out. So maybe you don't mind securing the Aatrox early. Maybe you want to leave it for later on in the pick phase and have more options to really think about what team composition you want. And looks like that might just be the result here. Veigar being covered at the moment. Yes, it is. And very much like the mid laners that we've seen, right? They've all been around like control mages that can put crucial CCs and pick targets out.
Yeah, you're right about that. And Crab Rave, going back to what worked for them there in that Game 2 where they found success, picking up the Ivern, picking up the Kai'Sa, and it'll see it's going to be the Vladimir here. Another really strong tier pick that we see a lot in top lane, but can be flexed to the mid lane as well.
I would say so. The only weird thing that I think of Moe's Tavern's draft at the moment is, why didn't you pick up the Sivir? Because it worked so well for you the first time. You had that auto push lane. You took the tower before the plates came off, and then working towards the rest of the game, you were always pushing and ready to capitalize off of attention being brought over to Washed Up Riven. But in this case, going to be working with the Varus, and you do have some perks of your own. Like we said earlier, the Corrupting Arrow, you got a lot of execute damage as well. So if you set up a siege, I would say it's better than Sivir. Not just the Boomerang Blade, but in this case, you've got the execute arrows. You've got some nice range as well.
Yeah, and even though it's not Sivir, like I said, Varus still brings lots to the table, and I think is a very strong pick in the bottom side. I would have liked to have seen him maybe more paired with a support like Braum or something like that can provide even more CC and protection in the lane as opposed to the Karma. But I think Karma Varus still no slouch, and will provide them a lot of priority in that lane. If they're able to play their cards right. We have yet to see what the support is for Crab Rave. Looks like they will save that for their last pick, going ahead to opting to pick up the Maokai there, like they did in Game 1 for their top lane.
And this is just setting it up for the Aatrox last pick, and I'm not sure why you would put yourself in that position if you were Crab's Rave. Like, you got a slightly early advantage for the Maokai. He still fell flat on his face just due to the matchup of Aatrox versus Maokai, and I think we might just see a similar situation here, unless it's all a bait. They want the Aatrox,
Aatrox was banned out in the second phase here by Crab Rave, so I think they're feeling a little bit more comfortable picking the Maokai this time around, but still, they are going to get an opportunity to counterpick here for Moe's Tavern, and hovering Renekton at the moment looking for something that can be a bully in that lane.
Well, my faith in Crab Rave is restored. They did ban out the Aatrox, so thankfully. But still working with that Maokai, and we've had questions about the champion pool coming out here for best James Bond, but perhaps that is just the type of composition that works best for Crab Rave. Maybe that's their comfort. Nautilus going to be rounding out their picks, and we've seen Nautilus a lot. I would say the combination of Kai'Sa and Nautilus is actually quite nice. You get that nice lockup. Every stack of CC actually goes towards the passive for Kai'Sa, and as long as you isolate one target, that's exactly what Kai'Sa loves to do, right? She does percentage of missing HP damage, execute, one would say, and she can really tear through anyone, whether it be a tank, whether it be a support, a squishy, whatever.
Yeah, very, very strong duo lane down there, and they've got a great mid lane champion in Vladimir that can scale with them into the late game, and of course Maokai will become that super tank if it gets to that point as well. So I think Crab Rave has got a solid composition, and they've got very clear forms of engage and great scaling as well. So overall, I like their draft very much, and most Tavern, I'm not really quite as sold on it. They don't have the same very clear methods of engage. You're pretty much relying on a Viger cage being able to hit, or finding a flank with the Kayn or the Renekton. It's just not really quite as reliable, and they don't have as strong of a front line either. And so it's just, I think, a little bit tougher to see how they would win the game unless they're able to kind of find some picks and snowball some stuff early on.
Yeah, I think picks is the name of the game for most Tavern. They have the Varus ultimate, the Veigar cage, and here we are seeing Renekton now for the first time, but in my opinion, a very strong top laner. And yeah, sure, he falls off eventually, but if you get ahead in the game, in the lane, and if you really start to pick up kills and play how Washed Up Ribbon has been playing, I think you can really have a huge influence on the game. On the other hand, Crab's Rave, I think they learned throughout the entire series that they work best when they have these engages to play around, when they have the priority to choose their decisions on, well, do I want to fight this? Do I want to fight that? I think now is the right engage. They worked well with it, and now coming out with another high engage composition, the Tangling Thorns, I believe they're called, or
the voice champion,
Maokai Ultimate,
Grasping Roots.
Grasping Roots, okay. As well as the depth.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nature's Grasp. It's Nature's Grasp. I'm sorry.
All right, cool. That one plus Nautilus engage equals good time.
It does look like a Grasping Roots, though, doesn't it? That's the name I think of.
And they're all branches, dude. It could very well be Twisted Advance, but I know that's Maokai's W.
That's his W, yeah.
It's all like branches,
Yeah, it's all the same. All right, well, the players are just locking in their picks here into the client, and we'll be on to the Rift here very shortly. And whoever wins this one's going to walk away with the W. Most Tavern looking to go 2-0 in the series between these two teams for the season. But sure. Not if Crab Rave has anything to say about it. They're looking to bounce back here and even the series record overall between these two teams 1-1 for Season 7 of Risen Esports. So stick with us, and we will be back very shortly with this deciding Game 3, and we hope it's going to be a big one. And we are back. It's game 3, the deciding game of this series between Crab Rave and Moe's Tavern. Teams are fanning out here. Looks like might be looking for somewhat of an invade here by Crab Rave as they make their way into the river.
Yeah, got that nice anchor to work with for the Nautilus, so...
Yeah, got that giant, very giant anchor. It's as big as him.
This is probably my favorite Nautilus skin, to be honest.
Oh, yeah,
Astro
definitely.
Nautilus, it just fits so well, you know. The guy's, look at it, he's just bouncing around.
Yeah, looks like he's on the moon.
It's
And
a
they've
work
got
of
the
art.
Dunk Master Ivor. Look at that. Oh, man. Balling out of control.
Just insane. Not sure how I feel about that one.
The Ivor mechanics.
Yes. Just like Yasuo used to do. I gotta say though, I like the afro on him, you know. That's like a throwback to, I don't know, the 70s. Back
Oh,
when
yeah, for sure.
basketball players had afros on them.
Yep.
Good times.
It's like Dr. J.
I don't know that
Oh,
Human
well, that's too bad.
really
Well,
is.
Looks like starting on the bot side for both teams here. Zohair going to be claiming that red buff and then moving on to his Krugs, and with no Scuttle Crab needing to be contested so early on, junglers are more free now to kind of go that full clear with after they clear their buff, going to the Krugs, then back to their Raptors, and then topside clear.
Pretty standard. Oh, there's Anchor.
Montusker lands the hook there, got the Aftershock to keep him healthy, so nice trade there with a considerable amount of damage going over onto King's Land.
Yeah, and you can imagine this isn't going to go like game 1. We saw Kingsland start his Sivir off with a nice first blood, but probably not this time unless he can manage to land quite a few Mancha Qs. But still, I do like the sentiment of picking the Karma. Again, I thought it provided a lot of lane pressure, and that is what you want to work around, especially in this current meta, right? You want to start shoving, you want to pressure opponents under tower so that hopefully you get the chance to take those nice juicy tower plates.
So juicy.
It's like a fruit, but it's not.
Not quite though. I mean, there's only 5 of them, so it's like, I don't know, they're like some grapes.
Yeah, just a vine of plates. Well, watch that. Do what he does best.
Yep. Oh wow, Flash there on Montusker, but he's so low. The Aftershock's there, but it's not enough to save him, and it flashes into his own death. First blood going over to Zakumiho.
That was fascinating. I have got to say, Montusker, he was feeling it. Don't know if I'm feeling it though.
I don't know if anybody was feeling that one, Switch.
Well, perhaps back to the drawing board on that one. That is going to be the first kill. Picked up to Zakumiho. I mean, it's King's Landing again. He secures his A to carry another kill. This guy's a god.
Yeah, that was all King's Land there. He anticipated the Montusker flash.
Wish I had a brain as big as his, but either way, hoping we're going to see another great performance out of Zakumiho. I think we definitely saw a comparison between Game 1 and Game 2 of his play, and looking forward to seeing him bounce back into this game on the Varus this time.
Oh wow, Zohair found out backpack here. The root collar root does land there, so he's going to be able to get himself out, and Zohair will not be able to look for anything further.
Surprised to see backpack back on this Ivern, and you had some sentiments. You weren't quite sold on it. I particularly liked it just because I thought it gave backpack priority when I didn't see him have the most priority game 1. So, like, I guess when I was comparing game 1 and game 2, the Ivern didn't seem so bad after all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it did okay for them. It did its job, but I just don't know that it's really much better than any of the other kind of standard type of junglers.
Yeah.
And I think he benefited from the fact that Washed Up Ribbon was playing so aggressive early on. He could visit top and secure some early kills, but it looks like he may be in a position to do that yet again. Washed Up Ribbon with the slice and dice gets himself out now, trying to find the kill, the 1v2, but it's not able to get a nice shield there from backpack on this Ivern, keeping his teammate alive. So maybe you're right. Maybe the Ivern pick is just Galaxy Brain, man. It's saving his team with the shield.
He missed the snare, right?
But he had the shield though. It's all good. What other jungler? Oh, look at what it is! He gets the root, and Best James Bond follows it up with a flash under tower with the stun. Oh, it's just not enough damage. He's gonna go down.
The Galaxy Brain coming out from Backpack over here. Jesus. Lands the snare. It's Best James Bond that takes that nice Uber over to the Renekton. Don't know if that's what you wanted, but in the end, Washed Up Riven, in true Chad fashion, goes ahead and dies under the tower, and he does unfortunately die because of it. TP now blown, so he's back in lane, but so is Best James Bond.
Yeah, he just seems like he only knows one playstyle. He's just, it's all in all the time. And that does net him some turret plays, which is great, but, he ends up losing a lot in terms of gold given away from his deaths as a result.
There's only one direction, and that is forward.
Is that a chroma, by the way, for Renekton, or is that like Arcade Renekton? I've never seen that before.
Hang on a second.
It's pretty cool looking, I gotta say.
No, yeah, that is Renekton, and I guess it is a chroma for it, but you're right, that is the spitting image of what I would imagine Arcade Renekton to look like. Another few landing for Montusker, and trade.
Yep, Hook does land there, but they got the shield to help keep him healthy, and then of course the threat of the root causing that disengage.
Action packed.
Man, it is wow. Quite interesting in this top lane.
It's the spectator syndrome. You know how spectator loves the top lane?
It really does.
Like they're not even close to dying half the time. It's literally just them farming.
Oh, but Backpack's top yet again. Dominus used by Washed Up Riven, trying to find something. A great heal there from the Q.
Oh, no.
Nature's Grasp root does not quite land, and now Best James Bond all out of mana. Washed Up Riven getting that Fury charged up. The Slice and Dice is there, the stun as well.
My God.
Can he get the extra Q there? He does. He's trying to find the 1v2, but he has no flash this time around, and nearly gets the 1v2 there. Almost a double kill for Washed Up Riven, expertly turning that one around.
Man, this Gator is so strong in the early levels, and I mean, yeah, Backpack is paying visits over, but it's not paying off.
Backpack out of position. Zohar finds a solo kill in the jungle, and on the opposite side of the map, Earl King finding a kill onto Mowgli as well, deep into the jungle there.
That is quite unfortunate, and not the start that Backpack had in that game too. He's just not finding his footing this time. However, it is Cage starting up the dragon. Lots of rotations coming out. You're seeing Earl King as well coming over, and it looks like they're going to secure the dragon without the help of the jungler, as we do see some odd proxying coming out for Washed Up Riven, but just trying to apply some pressure. King's Land, he's feeling it out.
Yeah, the Mantra Q lands there, but he's all by himself. The 1v4 gets hit by the root caller. Gonna go down.
Right.
Cage picks up that kill, and the Ocean Drake goes over to Crab Rave.
Just one of those plays that you hate to see. It's the support being a little too nosy, not minding his own business, and gets punished for it, unfortunately. Not in all reality, though. It's just not a communication, right? It's not a group approaching the dragon. It's just one lone Karma. She gets punished for it. Guys, the dragon plus a kill.
Right, and I mean, at King's Land, I think the idea there was probably just not to actually go in there. I think he probably knew he didn't have his team there, but he was just trying to land some poke, and maybe get them low enough, by the time they were finished with the dragon, that maybe his team could come in and clean something up or something like that. It'd just be a nuisance in general, but the problem is you went too far forward, and you have to respect the Nautilus hook. I mean, the engage rage that you have when you have that champion is just absolutely insane. The Dredge line can go quite far, and the lollipopping at the end of it, of course, can make it land even further than you think it can. So, really just not respecting the range of that ability.
It is glorious, the amount of CC that Nautilus has. And just the fact that every auto attack is a snare just still kind of boggles my mind. But then again, he's as slow as a snail, so sometimes he's just not able to reach you.
Now, and just taking stock of the game here, got not really much of a gold lead, just about 1,000 in the favor of Crab Rave, and I think part of that's due to the 3 kills that they've got. Haven't really collected too many plates, or any plates at all for that matter. Actually, only plates being taken are 2 in the top side and 1 in the bottom side, in the favor of most Tavern, in fact.
Yeah, and I mean, sort of feels like this game is both teams just wanting to get towards that mid-game skirmish. And I think that was very communicated through the pick and ban coming out here for the side of most Tavern. I mean, they didn't pick any necessarily hard smashing lanes, which I thought they would try and gear towards. It looks like they're just looking for that very nice pick-oriented style that you can look forward to playing when there is more priority on the dragons and on the neutral objectives.
Yeah, and I think if you're Crab Rave, you're feeling pretty good right about now. They don't need to look for those skirmishes necessarily or those picks. They're perfectly fine with waiting this one out, scaling for late game, just farming up. There's nothing really for them to fight over at this point, so there's no need to start off a fight, and they can just be happy to bide their time and let the Kaisa and the Vladimir scale to become late game monsters.
Yeah, you have fabulous scaling on the side of Crab Rave. The only question I have is, how well does Ivern do once you get way into that 5v5 territory? Because he doesn't necessarily excel at anything. He's a mix between a frontliner, but also a utility. It's a very weird territory to be in, but trying to set up a gank.
Speaking of the Ivern, he's ganked here in the bottom lane. The depth charge used. Nautilus claiming that kill. Montusker has picked it up onto Zagumiho, so it's a great layering of CC there from the bottom lane and the jungler.
Yeah, and just like that, they're looking to pick up more tower plates for that. Oh, Baker.
Nautilus does not quite land there onto a King's Land, so not going to be able to pick up another kill there, but they are going to grab a plate there for their trouble.
Zohair paying a visit over to that bot lane and just showing up, saying howdy doody, and you can all go back to your respective bases.
And Best James Bond doing a pretty good job here in the top lane, keeping the wave just outside of his tower range. So, Washed Up Ribbon can't just walk right up to the tower and start hitting it for fear of drawing tower aggro, and really can't push it all the way in either.
He's in a tough position at the end, though. Already down quite a bit of CS. It's looking like it's hovering the 50 CS mark. A little lower, but still, it's not territory you want to be in as a whole. Just cresting that 45 CS, and that is sort of the playstyle that Best James Bond gears towards. Hurricane playing aggressive.
Yeah, the Hemo Plague is used there onto two. The two Pool and the Tides of Blood come out, but Zohair is there with the Execute. Washed Up Ribbon TP'd in, claims the kill on that one. Now looking to find more, dashes in with the Slice and Dice, but not going to be able to find anything else at this point. Just going to be a kill going over to him.
Yeah, playing just a little bit too aggressively. Saw the 2v1 commencing, but decided to go for the aggressive positioning. Gets punished for it in the end, and that's a kill going over on the side of most Tavern.
Yeah, and now the next Drake has spawned is another Ocean Drake. So, Crab Rave may look to try to claim that one when the mid laner gets back onto the Rift.
And you do have TP advantage for the side of Washed Up Ribbon. If you can manage to set up this dragon, start that split push, or start that top wave push, force Best James Bond to respond, and then use your TP advantage, I think you definitely can find yourself in a great position for the dragon.
Wow, that's a great point, actually. I thought he had TP'd into that mid lane engagement, but it looks like he just walked down. Yeah, got his TP still available, dodges out the Ivern root caller there, so not going to be rooted up this time, and going to walk out, and did, again, I think this is the third game in a row, he's claimed all 5 turret plates.
He's a madman. I don't know. It just seems to excel when he's on these super strong picks. Renekton, I think, facilitates his playstyle perfectly. It's, hey, if you come and visit me, I will literally 1v2 you. And we saw that happen. Admittedly, though, Ivern.
Oh, Montusker getting so low. The Chain of Corruption lands. They see one more hit. They'll do it. The Ignite comes through, and there it is. He's going to go down. King's Land picking up that kill with the Ignite. So some 2v2s going in the favor of most Tavern here this time around in Game 3.
Yeah, and again, I'm just seeing some lack of comfort coming out from Montusker. He just does not look quite right on this Nautilus, I would say. Just does not have a good sense of the damage coming out, and gets punished.
Teleport being channeled, looks like by Washed Up Ribbon to come up for this Rift Herald so that they can secure that one. And it looks like they will be able to do that. And Ivor now roam down here in the bottom lane. Zakumiho has been caught out. Like I said, gets shield. Cage is getting low, but there it is. The last Q will pick up the kill on Zakumiho. Now Kingsland forced to retreat out of fear of that Daisy knocking her up.
And all right, not too bad for yourself. You get the pick onto that bot side, and now you're able to transition into the Dragon. That is going to be the second Ocean Drake looking to be scooped up here for the side of Crab Raven. On the other side of the map, however, was the Rift Herald that we saw secured for Most Tavern. They're putting that down on the top tower, and that's surely going to be the tower. So, interesting trade here. It's the Ocean Drake for the tower, but that Rift Herald is still moving.
Yeah, it is, and they're going to be able to take at least half of the HP off of this inhibitor tower in the top lane, and there it is. Charges, absolute unit, just chunks that tower. So really, a great amount of pressure generated for Moe's Tavern here on the top side.
Yeah, a little love tap from Montusker. He's saying, hey, I exist, and there's the hook.
Washed Up Ribbon, though, might got himself too far forward. He does flash out of that one. The cage used as well for a disengage, so he is going to get out, but not without burning his flash.
Well, that's a nice trade for yourself. Nice play from Montusker, utilizing his ultimate to get the trade for the flash, and still, this neutral game not swaying too much in one team's favor. You did take some nice gold for that top side if you were Most Tavern, but on the other side, 2 Ocean Drakes, that can actually mean a lot when we come into the mid to late game. If you actually go for, oh, there's the cage, but
great pull there, used to get out of the cage, but now he doesn't have it to stop the stun, and that comes out. The Primordial Burst just absolutely demolishes him, but in the bot side, there's a gank coming through here by Backpack. It's a 3v2. The Ignite is sticking onto a Kingsland. The root just barely misses, but Sage just flashed forward and gets the kill on a kill spree. Another hook lands there on a Kingsland, but they can't quite finish it up. Just going to be a 1-for-1 overall across the map.
Yeah, but I mean, dodging out that Chains of Corruption and then allowing yourself to get a pick on the bot lane is quite nice. Overall, I think we're seeing a lot of picks, but not too many results coming out from those picks. I mean, just trading gold across the map, and we'll really have to see when we see full-blown team fights who really comes out better.
Yeah, Washed Up Ribbon was sitting there hitting that tower for quite a bit. TP was channeled there by Earl King back into the mid lane, but they weren't able to lock him down. And this Renekton just proving to be a very slippery croc.
Yeah, and so Hair also pushing
so
everyone on. Okay, well, I'll calculate.
Didn't quite have the creep wave there, so the turret defenses were amplified and wasn't able to finish it off there. And good thing he backed off, otherwise might have ate that hook to the face.
Smart play, I suppose, but just to bring your attention to the score lines, I actually like the distribution of kills coming out here for the side of Crab Rave. You got 3 kills onto your Kai'Sa. We saw it last game, I believe 11-0-6. If my memory serves me right, it was a fantastic game coming out of Cage, and looking to have another great one.
Yeah, it's certainly set up for success, and looking to find yet another pick here. Oh, the hook does not quite connect. It's stopped by the cage, and the Primordial Burst yet again just gets the execute there on Montusker, who is not having the best of games this game 3.
And just a small example of how frustrating it is to play against the Veigar as a whole. Oh, nice.
Great chain of corruption there.
Yeah.
Forces out the pool and stops the aggression from Roking and gets him so low that he's probably going to have to recall on this one.
And that is the tower picked up for Mowgli the Cat or his team. Most Tavern at the moment, I mean.
Yep, and the double Ocean Drake certainly doing some work there for Crab Rave, as well as the Vladimir Transfusion, getting him that healing. He's almost back up at full.
Really? Just...
Oh no! Back in, Backpack! Maybe a misclick there as he goes right into the Viger cage and right off the rift.
Yeah, that's not the one, Chief. Unfortunately, Backpack.
that ain't it, Switch? That ain't it, Chief?
I guarantee you that was not it. And that is going to leave a bit of an opening, unfortunately, for the mid-tier one to go down for the side of Moe's Tavern. They capitalize off of a fascinating play coming out here from Backpack.
Right there lands onto Zohair, but the knockup disengage is there. Montusker just not really tanky enough to survive these extended engages.
Yeah, I don't even think he believed it would land. Like, just throwing it out for the kicks, but sometimes life takes you where you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's like
into 3 members.
It's like when you're sitting around, like, you know, at home or the office, you like crumple a piece of paper, like throwing it like way across the room. Like, you never think it's gonna land in the trash basket, but when it does, it's like, wait a second, that landed?
Really? I think that's the intention of people sometimes. They're like, please land in that trash bin. And then they miss for like the 9th time or whatever. I would actually say it's like a paper airplane, you know? You're like, yeah, this won't go too far. And then it like hits the teacher in the face or something like that. And you just put your head down, or you like look behind you and you're like, yo, who threw that?
Exactly.
Ah, good times.
Oh, Scuttle Crab goes over to Zohair there. Does get the
it's Kobe.
the claim.
It's him.
Yeah, he dunked on it.
Literally him.
Well, Backpack's more like Kobe, and he's the basketball skin.
Everyone knows Kobe has an afro.
Yeah. Well, with vision set up around this Drake, it looks like Most Tavern's going to be able to claim that one with no trouble whatsoever. But oh my word, the Viger, they're just deleting Montusker, who has no magic resist at this point. Roking, meanwhile, distracting 3 on the boss side, just 1v3, and picks up the kill on his Zakumio, and he's not done yet, trying to find another one, but the cage is there, and Mowgli is just popping off on this fire, picking up another one. Meanwhile, Mosh up ribbon on the bottom side, picking up the kill, flashes forward, grabs that kill onto Cage there, and trying to find another one, slices and dices, gets the stun, forces the flash out of Backpack, but not going to have the damage.
Oh, get him, Daisy! Come on, punch him!
Daisy's trying to fight back. Gets the knock up there, but nice healing there from Washed Up Ribbon. Finally gonna be able to get himself out of that one and away from Daisy as they claim the bottom tier 2 tower. And overall, I would say a pretty sweet victory there for Most Tavern.
Yeah, I mean, Most Tavern, they just snatched that dragon right out of the grip of Crab Rave, and Crab Rave didn't even notice that it was started. They lose the dragon, they walk a little bit too far, and it becomes a pseudo engage of a team fight. They get the worst end of it, even though Earl King tried his best to 1v3, just did not have the cooldowns available to facilitate that. So it's a bit more of an advantage going over for the side of Most Tavern. Attention now probably going to be put over to this Baron.
Yeah, I'd say that's the most likely scene of our next fight, if there is going to be one. And I think Mowgli the Cat has been really playing these fights pretty well, and setting up the cage, making sure that he's zoning people off and catching people out, allowing his team to kind of collapse, and then using the great burst that Viger has to kind of pick people off. We've seen it time and time again throughout this game, really having quite a strong performance on this champion.
I honestly think Vagar is like the king of game 5s. Like, you just pick him, and if you actually manage to get ahead, he's just so frustrating to play against. More than anything, I think he just tilts the opponents. I actually have so many problems with like the Vagar cage. Like, okay, if Vagar cage works like Threshbox, where some of the walls got consumed, I'd be okay with that. But the thing is, like, even if, like, I don't know, 4 of your allies get stunned, you can still walk into the cage and get stunned yourself, and that still boggles my mind. Like, wow, that's a crazy skill.
Oh, speaking of the cage, uses it yet again. This time forces the flash out of Montusker, knowing that if he hadn't flashed out, he certainly would have gone down.
We're feeling the same frustration at the moment, and Washed Up Ribbon putting on another 1v1 here, but
oh my word, Mowgli the Cat just takes it to Montusker, just absolutely deletes him. Knows that he doesn't have any flash this time around, and with, again, hardly any magic resist, only got the Aegis there. Not really going to do too much from it at this point.
Yeah, it's so hard to play Nautilus versus Vagar here, and Mowgli the Cat just saying, here's your counterplay. Absolutely blows up Montusker, and is going to be in the Baron, slowly but surely being whittled down. Oh, hey, it's teams learning from their mistakes here, not going for the 50-50s.
Oh wow, intelligent play by Washed Out Ribbon, knowing he drew aggro under tower and he would draw out Twisted Advance from the Maokai. He anticipated that and dashed out away from tower aggro and kind of dragged Best James Bond with him to get kind of the better end of that trade.
And he's been looking like he understands these 1v1 matchups much better than Best James Bond at the moment. It just looks like he always has priority, always has control of the lane. And I just love to see him transfer some of that proactivity into
Montusker, though, has found the engage that he might want this time. The hook did land there onto Mowgli the cat, and now Kingsline going to go down. Vladimir flashing in as well, picks up the kill onto Shikumi Hero. That's 2 down. Now goes golden for himself. Riven is there, but he is now so low. He's not going to find a kill. Zohair as well on the back line uses the Umbral Trespass to try to find something. Does pick up the kill on Montusker. But Earl King is unrelenting on the backside of that fight. A triple kill going over to him as Zohair being the only survivor from his team. They are going to look to set their sights on this Baron.
And Earl King just went absolutely nuts that fight. Picked up a great engage and then a follow-up kill. 1,000 gold came out of Mowgli for that kill, and transferring it onto the Baron. You only have Zohair alive. Do you want this 50-50, or do you take your time, try and push Zohair away?
Zohair to drop a ward into the pit, so he has full vision.
There we go.
Look for a steal, but Earl King's trying to persuade him to get away, but this time around they're not going to make it a 50-50. They are going to stop attacking the Baron, rightfully so. They get the shutdown, and they're going to get the Baron here in Game 3.
A solid, decisive turn of events coming out here for the side of Crab Rave. They come alive in the mid-game team fight. We talked about it. They love playing this lane slowly. The early game, admittedly, was a bit slower paced, but it was all exactly what Crab Rave wanted. They popped off in this team fight. You saw the combination of the Kaisa, the Vladimir, as well as some great play coming out from Best James Bond and Montusker as well to lock CC down onto the right targets. They had the mana advantages. They ended up taking quite a nice prize. The Baron might just trade it for the Ocean Drake unless they want to fight this as well. I've seen this turn out pretty bad sometimes when you have the Baron for a fight.
Montusker caught out. His team leaves him hang out to dry. Is out of position there, and they are going to lose one person with a Baron buff as a result of that, and Ocean Drake now going over to Mo's Tavern.
Well, ill-advised would be one way to put that, but either way, you don't lose too much if you are Crab Rave. You still got the Baron buff to work with. You lose one Ocean Drake, but you still have an Ocean Drake advantage. You just gotta find your footing again, start this push, and especially I think if you're the Maokai pushing into the Renekton, I think having that Baron buff to your advantage works wonders. It means that the Renekton has a much harder time playing aggressively on top of you because those Baron buff minions do so much damage.
I'm absolutely right about that, and the scaling is only going to get better and better for Crab Rave as the game goes on with this Vladimir. You saw him already in that last team fight getting a triple kill. Just think of what he can do once he gets even more items under his belt, and the Kaisa as well. So things are looking quite good for them at this point.
Yeah, and provided Montusker does not get caught out anymore by the cage.
Oh my gosh, the Primordial Burst alone there.
There we go.
Able to almost chunk out Cage, and Montusker has found a kill and engaged here onto Zakumiho. That is the 80 down. Earl King is on the back line, trying to 1v3 again, gets a kill. He's unstoppable on this Vladimir. Just what a threat to be reckoned with here. And they have found their window here into the mid lane. As the flash forward comes out from Montusker, there is the death charge, and they take out Mowgli the cat. He's going to go down, and they now have a clear path here towards the inhibitor. They're looking to press their numbers advantage, and they will. And surely the inhibitor in the mid lane will be next to follow.
And Crab Rave are being given inches, and they're taking feet off of it. There you go. The final kill, actually. Washed Up Ribbon is up. I don't think he's going to be able to protect this inhibitor from going down. We'll have to see if a push continues. Nah, you can just take a step back. Push now onto those side lanes. Nice play from Crab Rave.
Yeah, I'm not sure what most Tavern was doing there. I mean, they kind of just were going in one by one and slowly dying there at the end, at least. I think they got picked off and caught out a little bit to start it off, but after that, it feels like they should have just kind of backed off, and it felt like they were trying to salvage a situation that was unsalvageable, and as a result, just ended up giving up more than they really should have.
It's quite unfortunate because I think you had a lot of things working for you. If you were the side of Mo's Tavern, you had the Renekton still performing quite well. In that split push, you had Zohair finally reaching that state where he can apply a lot of pressure. Of course, Mowgli the cat was blowing up people left and right, especially Montusker was not having a good time. And I mean, now that this game stalls out even further, Washed Up Rhythm, he's going to get outscaled very soon. And
man, now he is 1v3. The flash forward, though, trying to find the kill on the cage, almost gets it, doesn't quite have the damage, but he's still staying alive, does find the kill there. Oh my word, this Renekton, the clock is online, still alive somehow in this engagement, and now his team has arrived. Zohair finds to knock up the blue smite, chilling smite, does land there, pick up the kill there on the cage, but King has arrived. He's still alive on this line, but now he's taking out the primordial burst, shutdown going over to Mowgli the cat, and Crab Rave is falling here. They are faltering with 4 dead and only Best James Bond alive. Somehow, Mowgli's Tavern is able to come out with some success here.
And the story of that fight was just Washed Up Rhythm putting on so much damage. Was literally having kill pressure on 2 enemy members, and now actually pushing for the win here.
Yeah, they might look to try to just win the game. They know they're going to get outscaled, so they're trying to just press their advantage as much as they possibly can. But the death timers are starting to come in here. The respawns are there for KJ Montusker. And now Zohair take up the tower. Root does not quite land. Zapumio forced to flash out, and that is going to mean that they're going to disengage from this one.
Killer Instinct on cooldown, so that's not going to be the warp through for the Kaista, but TP actually started from Best James Bond. The backpack, he actually goes down! And now, finally, Montusker and Kane trying to put down the last damage. Yes, it's a trade for the marksman, but Zohair left alive. He's going to be putting down the finishing touches onto Montusker here, and
actually goes over to him.
Yeah, it doesn't. Best James Bond, he teleport through. He's like, I'm gonna end it, boys. It just gets blown up by Mowgli here.
Well, a valiant effort there by Mo's Tavern. Try to end the game, when they, really smelled blood. Went for the jugular, but they couldn't quite find it.
I gotta tell you, if Best James Bond actually stuck around for the skirmish around that Baron, I think it would have been a much better decision. But that's hindsight, and now you gotta deal with what's in front of you. If you are Crab Rave, they're looking to end at the moment.
Yeah, they are looking to end yet again. There it is. Oroking on the back line uses the hole as well, but gets blown up. The last final touch there from Viger. The primordial burst gets the kill. Now Zohair has landed the knockup. A Kingsland has arrived as well, and looks like they just cannot stop this croc. The Renekton trying to get these last final touches on the Nexus, and a Kingsland, they'll take it down to take game 3. Would you believe it? Mo's Tavern comes out ahead 2-1 in the series.
I would not believe it, even if you told me. I'd have to see it for my own eyes, and jeez, the performance Washed Up Riven put on this game 3, he came out clutch when it really mattered and really put his team in the winning position in that fight. I mean, you saw throughout the entire game, like classic Washed Up Riven fashion, he was just attracting so many members over to him, winning 1v2s, winning 1v3s, even as you saw towards that Baron, and absolutely playing his pants off. I would personally, I know I'm jumping some steps here, but I would personally just straight up give him the MVP right now.
Yeah, I mean, I hard to disagree with you, Switch. I mean, even though he didn't have the best game 2 performance, he was constantly applying pressure for his team. And, even though it didn't work out in that game 2, games 1 and 3 very much did work out in his favor. And they come out victorious as a result in the series. I think a lot of it was just due to that pressure he created, like you said. And there's one thing that I think everyone should walk away with after watching that performance on Renekton is, Riot, please delete Spear of Shojin from the game.
Really, it's good on very, very specific champions, but it's like it really works wonders, especially when we talk about Renekton. Pops that ultimate, he gets all that fury, he gets the reduced cooldowns as well. I'm pretty sure because his stun actually hits 3 times when in fury, it literally just gives his stun back up like off of cooldown because of how the interaction between Spear Shojin. It's nuts. Washed Up Riven though, he had quite a great performance this entire series, I would say. He was even performing in that game too, when his team was falling quite far behind, and Sure, he didn't pick up the win there, but stuck with his playstyle. It ended up paying off for his team as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And, most Tavern now going to be 2-0 against Crab Rave for the entire series. So they're going to have that on them if there is some kind of eventual tiebreaker or something like that. But seem to be getting the better end of them and are going to go ahead and improve their record to 6-1. So they've only dropped one game so far in Season 7. And I think that was to Nita. But they're looking quite strong, gearing up for the later half of the season and for playoffs.
Yeah, well warranted. Their carry in the top lane just looks like a phenomenal tool to have as you go towards those playoffs, right? How do you deal with this guy? Because we saw bans coming out against him in this game 3, but scoops up the Renekton, has just as good of a performance, if not better, than the Aatrox game 1 that we were so spooked by. And you really have to come up with answers if you are going to be facing up against Most Tavern here. Washed Up Riven, a well-warranted MVP. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, hats off to him and hats off to the rest of the crew on Most Tavern. And with that, it will be it for us, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Risen Esports Dominate Open League cast. We hope to see you next week, and please stay tuned tomorrow for the Champions League match that's going to occur. And that'll be it for me. I'm Genre, and casting with me has been Switch, and on the stream side of things has been Rando Joe. Thank you all again for watching, and we'll see you next time.